Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
Fuck you, you creep. Please don't.
Jesus wept.
Tell the sheriff I got him.
I got plans for you. I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
You don't know what death is.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Hey, this is Trevor with Blood, Guts, and B-Movie Trash Talk, and we watch and review movies that you obviously do not have time for. And as always, have a fine gentleman here that helps out with these fine podcasts. Mr. Steve, don't skip on the sex A. Norman.
Hello. I feel like you're going to have time for this, at least the first movie in this series, baby.
Yes. I was really thinking of putting together some sort of fantastic introduction music for you every time, like just kind of like a WWE wrestler. Something needs to be put in place for that.
I did it with Quiet Riot that one time, remember?
Yeah, but it definitely needs to happen. I don't know. You need like a wrestling belt and the whole nine.
I like it. I think that's... We'll work on that. I should have worked on it during our long absence.
Yes. Oh, yes, about that. Yeah, so obviously you haven't seen anything posted as of late. I don't know. It's been a couple months. Apologize for the gap there. Got busy doing some things, but we're back at it. And we don't expect to have any other delays unless we've let you know ahead of time.
You have to lose yourself in order to truly find yourself.
Exactly. But before we really get into everything, Steve, I noticed you're drinking a beer.
It's true.
What are you drinking?
This is a beer that my friend Alex brewed called Intravenous de Milo. It's named after a song, an album from one of my favorite bands, Spinal Tap. What about you?
I'm actually drinking something that goes great with the holiday, which is Halloween. We are in October. It's called Dawn of the Red. So it's like a red IPA. It's pretty tasty. It's by Nikasi. Is that what they're called? They're from Oregon.
Does it taste like Eric the Red?
Possible. Maybe like...
the man, I mean?
Maybe just how bitter and hoppy it is.
Tasting his beard.
It kind of, yeah. Like after he spent multiple days sweating in it and not showering.
Mulled wine pouring out of it.
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell the people what we're doing?
All right, so we wanted to come into this because we'd been absent for a while and do something pretty cool and big.
We're making it up to our theoretical one listener at home.
Yeah, 1 to 2 listeners out there. And the occasional like Instagram or Twitter spammer that follows us simply just because they want to try to sell us followers.
Yep, and we're going to give them their money's worth.
Oh, boom. No, but we're actually going to do a Halloween franchise breakdown and review. We're going to focus on 1 through 4.
-3 right now.
-3, and we'll get to that, tell you why. And then we're going to do 5 through the rest of the heap of garbage.
And a special 3, because that baby is, aside from 1,
it's noteworthy.
That baby's the real prize of this series.
It really is. It really is. And it blows my mind. I feel it didn't get the recognition. And has become a cult classic and continues to
put out awesome looking shirts
and new DVD and Blu-ray cover art every single fucking year. You know, I think it's worth a while spending some time on it.
But we'll spend time on that next time. This series, so we're going to do 1, 2, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we might as well just get started in the usual way. If you happen to have some sort of, like, you could motion the packaging and it's got like a...
Oh, that's nice.
It's got like a knife that flashes around with a pumpkin. The box. You have the box.
Box, yes.
Why don't you read it to us so we know what we're in for?
Well, not a problem. Halloween has been fully restored. Oh, wait.
That's the one.
You want me to read that? It's just about the DVD. Okay, here we go.
Those are the best. Why don't you read that, and then we'll worry about the other thing later.
15 years ago, Michael Myers brutally massacred his sister. Now, after escaping from a mental hospital, he's back to relive his grisly crime again and again and again. This is Halloween like you've never seen it or heard it before. Now, Steve has a fancy special edition DVD that has like some weird holographic kind of glittery glam.
Slip the cover off. Here's the real treat.
Ooh. Oh,
Hey.
that's a beauty right there.
Got the mask.
But why not? I'll read the rest of it. Halloween has been fully restored under the supervision of Lucasfilm's HX Digital Mastering Services. The video was transferred by the award-winning colorist Adam Adams, Terminator 2 and Titanic. You would find that our title's under his belt. And they actually did the transfer from a new 35mm interpositive made from the original camera negative and approved by the film cinematographer Dean Cundy. He did Jurassic Park, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The new Dolby Digital 5.1 soundtrack was created by Chase Productions in association with Alan Haworth using the original 16-track music studio master and the recently discovered original 35mm magnetic dialogue and effects tracks.
And if this was
This is a fucking
2000,
beauty.
if this was 2004, that would be interesting.
They come out with new special editions, I swear, every year. And it kind of sucks because this is probably one of the cooler ones I've seen.
I like it, and now it's outdated.
Yeah.
What can we say about Halloween that it couldn't say about itself?
That's a great question.
Or I guess we could just talk about it. The movie is legendary in many ways. One of the first ones, we'll just go through the list here, are the budget.
Yeah.
It's estimated between, I know Akkad put up $300,000. I think the budget is estimated between $300,000 and $325,000.
Uh-huh.
And it made $70 million at the box office. And until the Blair Witch Project, it was the most successful movie of all time as far as
Independent.
Successful as far as taking how much you spent on the movie and
Comparing
what
it
you
to what it
made.
grossed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at math at all, but one day I did it on my calculator and I could swear it was, more than 2.
Yeah, it's one of the most successful independent. I mean, aside from that, it's one of the most successful independent films of all time. And, it kind of proved that you don't need to have a huge production company, shoot you all this money and put out a picture.
You need
to make the money.
$1.98 Shatner mask. Fucking paint it.
Yeah.
So I was curious. $325,000 in today's money is $1,163,530.
Mm-hmm. Which
so
that's
it's still low budget, but it's more than $300,000.
Yeah, and if you convert that, dude, you can't make movies.
I guess you couldn't back then because now you could probably shoot it just on a digital camera, but back then you actually had to waste film.
Yeah, that's the expensive part, but I mean that's still so cheap if you do the conversion. $1 million to make like a full feature that isn't a pile of garbage. You're lucky to pull it off. It's rare you see them.
Another reason this was so cheap brings us to our next point.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by and written by John Carpenter and his former girlfriend Deborah Hill. John Carpenter also went extra cheap and did the score himself, which is great.
Good call.
It's been debated whether John Carpenter is a genius or just a cheapskate that doesn't play a lot of notes.
Yeah. I mean, you could say he is a literal genius with that fucking dome.
I love the cover of his new solo album.
Yeah.
He's put together some... It's a great... it's like soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist. Just scores. And it's great. It's a great put together bunch of music topped off by wonderful cover art of his fucking head cut in half. And the dome is at the bottom and the lower part of his face is at the top for some reason.
You know when people start losing their hair and you just want to ask them, why don't you just shave your head bald? He's one of the people. He's like the one individual I would ask because it is so heinous as far as how far back it's receded that it's just unbelievable. And
but it's not quite. It couldn't be a skullet still because he has it at like the direct point the direct vertical point of his head, so it's not quite the back. He doesn't have horseshoe baldness.
Yeah. It's an odd baldness.
It's just running away from his
weird.
eyebrows.
Yeah, it's really weird.
But anyway, so yeah, John Carpenter, after this, he definitely went on to other things.
Yeah.
With our pal, Donald Pleasance.
Yes.
So yeah, why don't we, you got anything else to add to the history of this?
Aside from the fact on its budget, how successful it is, I know it just, this was one of the films that created just a huge, like, explosion in slasher movies.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. That's the other legendary thing.
I mean, honestly, I think, which we'll get into, when part 2 came out, they tried to really, like, play and mimic a lot of all the other slasher ideas and kills that were actually, what's the word for it? I'm kind of fucking rambling on here, but they kind of had to top all the other slashers that had come out that they had inspired. So, I mean, as far as the kill scenes are concerned and things like that.
It's kind of the same as this movie compared to Friday the 13th. Like, this movie, while Halloween didn't invent slasher movies, because, you know, there was a couple before that were notable.
Oh, yeah.
It did kind of make it a thing. Mm-hmm. And so this movie comes out. They try to make Jason sort of like an unkillable machine also. Mm-hmm. And then a few sequels into Halloween, you know, Jason is the guy. So they start making Michael Myers like Jason, which, as we'll talk about in 2, they make Michael Myers from 2 try to be like number 1 while also trying to, like, up everything, and it makes the whole series shit the bed. But anyway, that will be later.
Yes.
That was my Michael Myers doll.
That's pretty cool. It kind of looks like one of those old drawstring dolls, like that Freddy one you have over there.
Yeah, he's like a badass version of Sheriff Hoodie for kids to sleep with.
What would you say? What mask is that? 4 or 5?
I think it's 4. It's the doll that you squeeze and he plays music. He has bullet holes, blood coming off of his knife. And someday I hope to be a small child again so I could carry that around.
That would be pretty cool. Or just be severely injured and be a child in the mine.
I don't hope for that anymore. I don't like it.
Yeah, that'd be bad. All right, so
let's dig into this historic bitch. We're not going to go as in detail probably as we could because everybody's probably seen this movie, but
yeah,
we got to kick it off right. So why don't we just talk about it then?
All right, let's jump into it. So yeah, we jump into the movie. It starts out with Loomis and a nurse, I believe, driving around. Correct, Steve?
No.
Okay.
It starts out with a pumpkin.
Okay.
That's carved with a weird eye hole.
How did I miss that? That is one of the most iconic starts ever.
Your sister thinks
I'm jumping the gun.
You are. Your sister thinks that that pumpkin was cut so that the eye hole was a mistake and it leads from the eye to the nose, the cut.
Yeah.
I say no. Here's why.
She thinks it's on purpose?
No, she thinks it's an accident. I'm like, it's on purpose.
Okay.
So that happens. Not a big deal, that part.
Yeah.
The movie opens, though. Halloween night, young somebody is looking through a window at the world's fastest comer. And the movie starts. Somebody is looking in the window. They see a girl and a fucking guy with a nice haircut.
Yeah.
And they go upstairs. And, you can count, and it might be like 40 seconds at the most.
If that.
And in that time, a little figure, which is definitely Michael Myers, goes into the kitchen and grabs a knife, which this is Deborah Hill's hand, I found out, and goes up the stairs and, puts on the mask, and then it just, kills... Well,
fantastic POV. And he's where you see the eye holes. It's fantastic. He walks up the stairs after.
What I forgot to say, and this is starting off terribly,
it is.
The boyfriend walks down the stairs and leaves first. So he, He was in there a few seconds. You go up the stairs. There's a naked girl combing her hair. Turns out to be Michael Myers' sister, Judith.
Mm-hmm.
And he stabs her.
17 years young.
Yeah, and so while little Michael's stabbing her with the mask on, and we don't know who it is yet, but he watches his hand while he's stabbing her instead of looking at her being stabbed. And that is how the movie opens. After he walks down the stairs and his family comes home and sees this cute little kid standing there with a bloody knife.
Yeah, he doesn't look deranged. He doesn't look strange. He just kind of looks lost. But it's really weird because the camera kind of like jib cranes out, like up higher and higher. And it always tripped me out because the little kid's standing there still and the parents are standing there still. Like it's paused, but it's moving backwards.
Yeah,
you
they just
that?
don't move.
Yeah, do you?
And I think it's supposed to be in like I take it as it's not supposed to be still like a picture. I take it as like, they're just like, what the fuck's going on? And everyone's just standing there, like, whoa, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I like it. That's pretty cool. Now we then go to the part I was about to discuss, which is 15 years later, right, Steve?
That's right.
And we see Mr. Loomis and the good old nurse. They're driving. Now, are they leaving the hospital?
They're headed up to the mental ward.
Okay, they're heading
transfer. I think what is he, 19 or 20-year-old Michael Myers?
Yeah.
I think it's 20.
Yeah.
They're transferring him somewhere. Middle of this rainstorm. Donald Pleasance, Sam Loomis gives you a whole bunch of exposition about everything.
Fills you in.
You know who Michael Myers is. You know that was who the kid was. They're talking, and then they show up to the hospital, and that's when you see that something's not quite right.
Yeah, and he's escaped.
Yeah, all these lunatics are standing outside, and they're fucking, what are those things
shitting
called?
Their pants.
With those ass cuts, the cuts behind their ass. Johnnies.
Yeah,
they're Johnnies.
Yeah, they're just those typical. If you go to the hospital and they tell you to take your clothes off, they give you this little Johnny, and you
hospital Johnny that's got a slit in the ass so you can shit into a bedpan if you must. Laying down, which has always made me wonder how.
Yeah.
How do you poop while you're laying vertical?
That's odd.
Or horizontal.
It takes some skill and practice.
It seems like you just have to poop really bad, then it just oozes out of your ass.
It seems like you'd have a few accidents at first. Shitting all over the side of the bed.
Let me ask you a question. If you had to poop out of a Johnny into a bedpan, would you ask for one of those party hats like you get in the restroom, like the kind that sit on the toilet so you don't have to put your bare ass on it?
Ooh, because those metal pans would be cold.
And they seem gross.
You know what I would do? I would put the metal pan down on the ground, and I would scoop my ass off the edge of the bed.
Just ooze it down so your butt is sideways and it's just oozing down and just like... It's like... and it's like...
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So Loomis shows up there. He's like, something is wrong, and then he tries to start getting the people back indoors by a stroke of luck. The first stroke of luck, which there are many, or I guess coincidences. Michael Myers happens to hijack the same car he was already going to be in.
Yeah, he crawls up the top of the car, and the nurse inside driving hears it, and instead of freaking out and locking the door, she rolls down the window.
Or driving the car away to like flip this asshole off the car, which is what I would do.
Yeah, you have a bunch of loonies running around. That's the last place you want to be. But anyways, she rolls down the window and he grabs her, and I don't know if he's trying to kill her or just get her the fuck out of the car, but he eventually hijacks the car and heads to Haddonfield.
Very easily drives away. So I think the next... I'm not sure which order these scenes come in, but they're all in pretty close succession.
Yeah.
Either way, sometime next, you see Loomis talking to one of the hospital guys, and he's like... something about how he was able to drive out there. And at this point, you think they had to acknowledge the fact that in 78, this guy's fucking stealing a stick shift when he was a kid, when he was put into in the mental ward.
Yeah, and supposedly staring at a wall for years and years on end.
Yeah, so they do bring this up because otherwise it's still a glaring, like, ridiculous plot hole.
Yeah.
But they do acknowledge it. So he says, like, well, he was driving pretty good last night, and then it's sort of implied that somebody was giving him lessons. Do you think this was a good idea to bring this up or not?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say no, because they don't. Because that second part you mentioned they bring up is somebody had to be giving him lessons. Like, the way it's said, you feel like he's kind of like pointing the finger, or like somebody's involved in his, like, possible escape. I don't know. It's just like kind of fishy, and they never touch base on it again.
I think that it would have been better if he was just like, how was he able to drive out of here? And
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, they could have.
Because you have to, I feel like you have to call it out because it's so ridiculous.
Sure.
I mean, you could steal an automatic without really knowing much, but I'd been driving for 4 years before I learned how to drive a stick, and I still embarrassed myself the whole day trying to learn, killing it.
I don't know why they just didn't. I don't know why Deborah and Carpenter didn't just change it in the script. Like, that's pretty obvious and weird. Like,
Well, I don't think that it was an automatic, but I don't think that automatics existed, right? Because it was 78.
I don't know. We'd have to check in the car.
I never see a stick, but I just assume it's an automatic. Like, a stick, because 78.
It could have been an automatic.
Did they exist?
Yeah.
In 78?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it would be more probable if he did steal an automatic. But I'm operating in the impression he's sticking it.
Nevertheless, he's driving a vehicle that. He was incarcerated as a child and literally been staring at a wall for years on end, and then he all of a sudden can drive. And you see his driving skills somewhat throughout the film, and I would have to say he
makes a smooth left turn right in front of the cops.
Oh yeah, and when somebody doesn't hesitate to shout at him, he definitely halts to a fucking complete stop and gives them the "I'm going to get out of the car and beat your ass."
So after that he shows up. You see a dead naked guy sprawled out, phone booth hanging around. Yeah. Most importantly, you see that he's not wearing his mechanic suit, which is where Michael obtains the mechanic outfit.
Yeah, and I like this about the movie. There are 2 kills, I believe, where it doesn't show it, but it kind of shows his progression to getting to where he needs to be. And sometimes less is better, and you don't have to spend a good 20 minutes, showing him how he obtained that fucking jumpsuit. So,
although that is one kill I would like to see. He doesn't have a weapon. He's wearing a Johnny, and he doesn't have a mask, and he pulls up in an insane asylum car. I would love to see him running, chasing this guy, and his fucking gown is billowing, and you just see his bare ass, and he's like wrestling this mechanic out of his car, and then beats his ass and takes his jumpsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from there, this isn't the next scene, but he does go and he obtains the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we jump to our main character, and you see Laurie Strode leaving school with her pals.
Yeah.
And, they're just saying totally like a million times, and...
God, I know.
Totally.
And is it just me, or does Jamie Lee Curtis is heinous in this? Like, I don't know, like, her face is just really, really weird.
Well, that's Jamie Lee Curtis, and we'll bring Jamie Lee Curtis up again because of this interesting,
You're talking about 2.
Guitar player from Spinal Tap, Nigel Tufnell, is married to Jamie Lee Curtis in real life. Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
So that only brings it in home even better that I'm drinking this beer called Intravenous Demilo. I actually don't have a problem with Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie. Actually, I
don't either.
I think she does a great job. I think that she's definitely the least annoying of her friends.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, somebody that you don't think's annoying at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good casting choice. Also,
True.
Her mom is the lady that gets stabbed to death in the shower by Norman Bates. So that's cool too.
That is pretty cool. All right, so we're introduced to the main characters. This is where Jamie Lee Curtis... Well, we kind of skipped the section where Michael Myers is walking around and he meets little Tommy, right?
Oh yeah, at the schoolyard.
Yeah, he bumps into Tommy.
The kids are telling him the boogeyman's gonna get him.
Yeah.
And he walks right into the boogeyman, and that's all though.
Yeah, but one thing I want to mention about this part and a lot of the parts you see throughout the film where Jamie Lee Curtis is walking around, just the score is so fucking awesome.
Yeah, the score is great.
You know, I think it's great because even when you cannot see Michael Myers, the score that starts playing, you know he's creeping around, and you get the idea that he's just right around the corner hiding around a bush, and so it just adds so much to it. I love the score. Whether or not Carpenter pulled this out of his ass and only knows a few notes, like you had said earlier, it's perfect.
Well, there's such a fine line between stupid and clever.
Yeah.
He's managed to be on the direct clever side for this one, but yeah, so while Jamie and her friends are walking around, we also get to see what Michael Myers looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So he's creeping around doing Michael Myers things, standing by a bush, and you see him. Laurie gets a look of him, gets a little bit nervous. She's supposed to hang out with her friends. No, she's supposed to babysit later.
Yes,
and she might be seeing some of her friends later that might come over to hang out.
She has a crush,
babysitting. Yeah. But this whole time while she's waiting, she kind of keeps getting spooked by Michael Myers, and then she's going to get picked up by Annie Brackett. So she's basically just killing time until Annie picks her up.
Yeah. And she also sees him out by the bush, and then she sees him by the clotheslines when she gets into the house.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to relieve myself. This beer. No, I'm not shitting my pants.
You never heard a person squeeze a fart out so delicate.
So she gets picked up, and this is where we find out that Michael Myers broke into the Halloween shop, and stole a mask, right? He stole... Well, it's not a Halloween shop. It's
just a general
convenience store. He stole...
like a general store. It's a small-ass town. This is like their everything shop.
Yeah, so he stole the mask. He stole...
standard rape gear. He's got a mask, probably a shovel.
He had a rope. I swear it was rope and a knife or something.
Well, he's got rope, a knife, a mask. I'm assuming he probably took a shovel, even though he probably didn't. But like, it would just, you can't just take those things and not get a shovel and like bucket of lye.
Yeah.
But
extra large condoms.
One thing I love about this though is Annie and Laurie are driving. Laurie Strode, they're driving, and she's like, "Oh, my dad!"
Yeah.
And she sees him. He's like,
out.
Yeah, he's the cop. They're clearly smoking a joint. They're driving, which is interesting to me because Jamie's supposed to be really innocent.
She broke a rule.
She does, although it's debatable. I mean, I don't think that weed is some sort of drug.
Yeah.
I mean, but anyway, so first of all, they're hotboxing the shit out of her dad's car. You could just drive past. You could not stop. You could take a different route. Instead, what she does, her dad's the sheriff, stops right in front of him, rolls down the window as he walks up. Anyone that's ever hotboxed knows it's going to blast it right in his face, in his stupid cop face.
Exactly. I didn't understand that either. Like, they weren't blocking the road off or anything. Like, just fucking keep going.
It's my dad. We got to stop and say hi. Just drive past. If he's like, we need to stop later. Like, we're going to a party, and it's uncool to stop and say hi to your dad when you're 17.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird.
But yeah, so he just sort of talks to him for a minute. By now, if he hasn't got a face full of the hot box, he's probably just smelling lingering smells and thinking these girls have a cleanliness issue.
Yes.
Or at least somebody's farted in the car and nobody will...
Goddamn Laurie, put some fucking deodorant on.
So yeah, so they drive from there. And then I guess Laurie goes right to babysitting, right? She takes Tommy... She doesn't take Tommy around. She's kind of a... She keeps alluding to the trick-or-treating, but I don't think they ever go trick-or-treating.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. She talks to him throughout the movie. Like, there's things he wants to do, and she says, yeah, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll make popcorn, blah, blah, blah. Instead,
what they do is watch a movie that John Carpenter wants to remake.
And he eventually did, which I love. It shows the it shows the original thing, And fantastically enough, he remade that and actually like it better than the remake. I like it better than the original, sorry.
That's because it's not a weird alien guy walking around with a big old head.
Some spacesuit. Yeah. Yeah, but then after the babysitting begins, Steve.
Well, I guess we could go over we did skip one little thing, which we touched on earlier, which was the speed kills comment while Michael's driving past looking at these girls.
Oh, yes.
So that's all.
Yeah. Because who yells at him?
That's got to be fucking Brackett.
Yeah, I think it's Brackett. She yells at him some obscenity because...
It's like, hey, jerk, speed kills.
Yeah.
And he just slams on his brakes. Now, she's lucky he didn't get out and just pop her teeth out of her face. Because that's what I would do if somebody shouted at me.
Uh-huh.
He was clearly going 20.
Yeah, he was not going very fast.
Fuck, nobody fucks with a guy in a station wagon.
Mm-mm.
So we jump to the babysitting. That's when the hijinks begin to ensue.
Yes. So we get to that. Brackett decides that she's going to pull a fast one. She wants to go out and have some fun. So she talks Jamie Lee Curtis, or Lori, into taking up her babysitting job for the night. Ooh, thanks, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Correct?
Not before she spills butter all over her. A little bit of butter on herself.
Yeah.
She yells about the dog. Decides to do the laundry in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. Gets
stuck in a window. You know, these are the boring parts of the movie where I kind of zone out for a few minutes and just imagine what cool stuff Michael Myers is up to.
Playing dice in an alley or something.
If you like movies with young girls talking on the phone, doing laundry. Anyway, that's just what I'm imagining. So, during that part, but, yeah. After that, they all sort of try to dump everything they're supposed to do onto Laurie Strode. So,
and I think that makes up for her pot smoking.
Dumping all the kids onto Laurie Strode,
like
or
she's
Laurie
taking this all,
work,
and so it's like, yeah, she's gonna survive. Everyone else is a fucking asshole. So
you can continue to get paid, and I'll do the work, and we'll take. What the hell's her name?
Well, she says
what's the girl's name?
The one that's
the little girl. Tommy's the girl that's.
I can't remember. It's gonna kill me. I could look really quick.
Whatever.
Yeah, but anyways, I think she kind of talks her into it. Talks Laurie into babysitting because she's going to throw in a few words to
Ben Tramer.
Ben Tramer.
But she doesn't want her to talk to Ben Tramer because Laurie's scared.
Yeah, she does, but she doesn't.
Well, yeah, but she eventually is like, no, I don't want you to talk to him anymore. And she's like, well, too late. Ben Tramer, and then like talks about him.
It doesn't bug me she gets killed.
No,
she's got an annoying voice.
Well, she dies in a manner that's very ungraceful. I always like to think if I'm going to die, I don't want to look ungraceful. And she looks ungraceful. She has her mouth open like, nah, and like slides her face down the car.
Yeah. So
why don't we can talk about that.
Yeah, talk about her being killed. So she's basically strangled in a car, right, Steve?
Well, she goes to the car and it's locked. So she goes in the house to get the keys, comes back out singing, oh, Brad. It's all Paul. Oh, Paul. Oh. Oh. And then, she opens the door. It's not locked anymore. Gets choked out.
Yeah. And the windows are all steamed up and everything. You can hear the breathing. It's pretty creepy.
And meanwhile, we've got Bob and his totally date. And they are going into some random house.
Just banging.
Yeah, they're going in there to have sex. And it's the house that Annie Brackett was babysitting the kid in.
Yeah.
And so they
probably the parents' bed.
Yeah, they stroll in there, just like, I assume throwing beer cans around.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even shut his fucking van door. They go upstairs. They have sex in the bed in a weird manner where he seems like he's having sex with her knee based on the angles that he's laying. And then they call Laurie after that, and or maybe Laurie calls them, but either way, they talk to her for a while, Stuff happens. Bob goes to get a beer.
Yep.
And then
Shit hits the fan.
This is where the boss shows up.
Yes. He comes out of the dark and he kills a tough guy. I can't remember the guy's name.
His name's Bob.
His name's Bob. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like the dude that would be banging all the girls.
He does not. He doesn't look like... I was going to say, I don't see this guy...
He looks like a Bob.
He can't be in high school, right?
Oh,
These
no.
girls are in high school. He can't be in high school. He's got a van. He's got to have, like, the appeal of being out of high school, and that's why he's hanging out with them.
Yeah, probably. I think you're onto something.
That's
He's
why I
taking
think-
advantage of that.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he's cool and he's out of school. Because if he was in school with them, they'd be like, fuck this loser.
he's got a van. Yeah, gotcha.
He's got a bitchin' van. Yeah, so Bob goes down to get the beer. And what happens to Bob?
He gets fucked up. He gets stabbed into
gets
the
hung.
fucking wall.
Yeah, he gets hung right on the wall
Yeah.
with a knife.
And this shows like the just mass brute strength of Michael Myers.
A man that is played by Nick Castle, who's like 5'8".
Yes.
And he picks this fucking guy up and sticks him to the wall. And then he gives him the side head look, like the way a dog would tilt your head.
Yeah, like the just lost in thought, like the curious
Yeah,
tilt.
like, what is that? Like when you play like a weird noise at a dog and it's like... "Rrr?"
That was a pretty iconic scene. Because you see that in other serial killer movies, slasher movies.
Jason
like,
does it all the time.
Yeah, like the tilt. Like people don't understand what that did. I feel like you see that in movies all the time.
It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and you see the origin of the trope. And like this movie is kind of one of those movies. Like, I was watching, I think it was on Space Odyssey, and I was thinking like this is like kind of the beginning of a lot of tropes. Or like when you're watching Frankenstein, there's that good brain, criminal brain,
Yeah.
and you're like, they redo this on everything.
Yeah.
You know, or like The Shining, they redo all this stuff. This is the one where they've got the head tilt and the half standing in the shadow, the coming out of the shadows like it's coming out of a lake, like when you're like slowly peeking out of the lake
Yeah.
type thing, but it's out of the shadows. And like it's also the movie where you sort of are half standing in the doorway or something instead of just in the doorway or right in front of you. He's just...
Yeah.
But yeah, so he kills the shit out of Bob, and then he showcases his sense of humor by going back upstairs and...
With a sheet.
yeah, he's got a sheet on. He's got Bob's glasses on over the sheet, and he stands there and is asked if she can't get his ghost.
Yeah, he just fucks with her for a good 2 minutes. She asks him a bunch of questions, and he obviously doesn't answer. He just stands there and stares at her, and then eventually walks closer, and she starts getting annoyed because he won't talk to her, and he eventually puts her out of her misery.
Yeah, he chokes her out the phone cord when she's on the phone with Laurie Strode, and she thinks that it's one of those, like, she's calling her while she's having sex and just making noise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he makes short work out of these numbskulls. And then he goes strolling around so that little Tommy could be hiding and trying to scare Lindsay. That's her name.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the tombstone preparation and everything?
Oh, yeah, he lifts a tombstone that's his sister's.
Yeah. It's quite the elaborate little thing he put
Ruse.
together. Just, do you want to jump
Into what happens at the end, or
into where Laurie sees all this?
when she well, I mean, she gets chased over there. So I guess we could talk about it now.
Yeah.
He's setting up these booby traps before he leaves, so people will swing out of closets and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, why don't you say what happens with the grave headstone?
Yes. Okay. So Laurie comes over to this house to check on her buddies because I don't know. Does she make a phone call over there and they don't answer? And so she goes over there to check, and this is like that moment where you're like, oh shit, she's going into this house. Like,
yeah.
She's next. So she gets over there. She's trying to be clever, jumping around corners to the front room to see if they're in there, and she doesn't see anything. So she goes upstairs, and this is where she sees her one of her friends laying on the bed, and the tombstone is like above her. Like, I don't know if it's just pushed against the...
Yeah, he's brought the tombstone and just set it on the bed, right?
Yeah, he
right
said,
by her.
yeah, right by her, and then she kind of, out of fright, scoots back to an open closet door, and
It turns into Michael's little house of spooks. He's created a spook alley by just having people fling out from different areas that are dead.
yeah, exactly. And so Bob comes flinging out of this open door, scares her over to a closet or another. Was it like a closet?
Yeah, there's like a closet
like a pantry for towels or whatever, and
in their bedroom.
she opens it up, and that's where she finds, I would say, probably her best friend smashed into this little space, right?
Yep.
And that's it. Then this is where she is introduced to Michael Myers. She gets
And
chased.
She promptly runs.
Yes. And this is kind of like a suspenseful scene, because he's walking fucking fast. When she starts going over there, and little Tommy decides that he's going to take a sweet-ass time
Opening the door.
coming down and opening the door.
And he's like half asleep. Like,
She's screaming, telling him to open the door. He finally gets to the door. She slams the door shut, locks it, and she advises that Tommy go up and grab his little friend, or the girl that she was talking to, babysitting as well.
little Lindsay.
Little Lindsay, and has them go hide. And then they run upstairs.
Meanwhile, what we forgot to say is going on the whole time. Samuel Loomis is fucking scaring children away from the Myers house, and he's shouting about
Just hysterical.
reincarnation of evil, or the embodiment of evil. He's fucking...
He's just
made
this
the-
like
he's tied up-
he's like this paranoid fucking crazy asshole that just screams, but his screams are not very loud.
And he's tied up the only sheriff, and he's making him drive him around and all this other stuff. And so that's going on. So you know that there are people that can protect her. They're just far away. All the parents are gone to some sort of Halloween party.
All right, so I do want to kind of just bring this up, Steve, and get your opinion on it about good old Donald Pleasant. Now, is he just not in this because of the script? Or was it because he was like a known actor, and they're like, we can only pay this guy so much money?
I think they only had him for like 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
So they just... I mean, that's all they could get him for.
Yeah, because he's just running around trying to find Michael Myers, and I mean, you don't see him for the majority of the movie, but in the
That's some of the best parts about it.
but I don't know though, like moving forward in the franchise, which
don't know what death is!
but later on in the franchise, you see more and more of him, and it's
He
just
becomes such a
fucking-
parody of himself. It's great.
He's just this paranoid fucking idiot. I don't know. It's great. I definitely think it's. I think he's a valuable asset to the franchise. All right, so Laurie's chased over to the house. She advises the kids to hide, and she runs upstairs as well. And as she's explaining to Tommy that shit's hitting the fan, the boogeyman's actually here, all of a sudden you see good old Michael Myers hiding behind, or walking upstairs behind them.
This is after she's poked him in the head with that fucking needle, right?
No, this is before that, because then she locks them in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And then she runs into the bedroom.
I know the part now.
Yeah, she runs into the bedroom and locks herself into the closet because...
No, that's got to be after, dude.
I don't know.
I thought that he was behind her on the couch. Like, she runs home and, like...
Oh, yeah.
And she's
we
on the
skipped
couch
that.
and she's like, oh, it's over or something, even though there's no reason it should be over. And he shows up and she just sticks him in the neck with this really long crochet needle.
Yeah, she
and
does
he
that.
promptly just falls for some reason.
And then that's when she runs
Then
upstairs.
she runs up the stairs, yeah. And,
I thought you meant the hanger, but yeah, I
yeah, and then
skipped that.
she
I apologize.
pokes. She hides in the closet. And, yeah, he starts bashing in the closet, which is a pretty great scene.
That's one of my favorite scene, I think. This whole setup and scene is great.
She pokes him in the eye with the hanger, and then he falls again. See, this is probably my only problem with the movie. Why the fuck does he keep falling?
Yeah.
I know it's building, like,
Well, it's not...
dropping the suspense, and then, like, ratcheting it back
Rebuild
up.
it, yeah.
He keeps, I mean, like...
It's not an injury that he's sustaining that would knock him, like, render him unconscious,
Yeah,
you know?
somebody pokes you in the eye with, like, a hanger.
You're pissed off.
maybe like 10 hours later, if it started bleeding, you might start falling down probably. But I don't think it's immediately.
No, that's an injury you get pissed off at and
Yeah,
just
it's
fucking
like when you
get
bang
worse.
your shin and somebody is like, "You okay?" and you just want to punch him in the face.
Exactly.
And yeah, so that I think that this is one of the weaker points of the movie, where they should have just. I don't know what else you could do, but I guess you probably could have spent more time trying to think of what you could do.
I mean, yeah, I think they were just trying to keep it in the house, because if he just
maybe don't have him fall down.
Yeah, I mean, but then where'd she go? She runs.
Wouldn't it be even more crazy if he was just falling down for no reason? Then you'd be like, this guy is insane.
This guy is fucking loony.
What is up with this dude? He's just falling.
He just has like a crazy case of like epilepsy or something.
Yeah, and that's when you feel safe. He's like shaking on the floor, and you're like, oh god, let's get away. And then he gets up, and you're like, oh no, that'd be way. I feel like that'd be better.
Yeah. So anyways, she pokes him in the eye of the hanger. He falls to the ground. She feels like everything's safe. Now, this is what I don't like. He's laying on the ground. She knows she didn't severely injure him.
She's like, he's dead.
Nah.
It's the second time. He's definitely dead this time.
Yeah, so she goes, she gets the kids, tells them to run outside, go get help, whatever. Now, oh yeah. The studio here is directly under a fucking airport. But anyway, she advises the kids to go get help, and she takes a rest as she slides down to the floor and, next to the door. And this is where you see that iconic shot where Michael Myers sits up.
That's so great, where he's barely exposed enough to see him throughout this movie. You're barely seeing that white face, but he sits up.
Mm-hmm.
A move that's emulated by countless wrestlers. Especially The Undertaker. He just full on sits up, and you're like, oh,
it's
shit.
It's like calm,
or like
calculated,
Kane.
and like precise. Like he sits up, and it's like almost like robotic.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's straight sitting up, he turns his head.
Yeah, and then he just gets up. And he slashes her, but it only just tears her favorite shirt. And then she just does a front flip down these stairs.
Yeah. Not landing on her feet.
No, she lands on her back or something.
Yeah. And she
at this point,
what's next?
She's probably got a twisted ankle, a torn favorite shirt, and a slight scrape on her elbow to go with her damaged kidneys from hitting the stairs.
Yeah, her basketball career is over.
So right now, I think the kids are running down the street yelling about help. We've got an insane person on the block named Samuel Loomis who hears this, runs over. He's the kind of guy that'll pull a gun on anybody if he thinks you're the incarnation of evil.
Oh, yeah.
He runs down the street just in time to get Michael. I don't know if he tries to talk sense into him or just decides to start shooting, and he'll ask questions later. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I believe this is the point where he just starts unloading on him.
But we gotta talk about the only time we really ever see Michael take his mask off.
Yeah, she pulls her mask off.
Yeah.
During this, before he shows up, Loomis shows up.
Before Loomis comes in and puts 6 bullets in him.
I put 6 miles.
His mask is taken off, and you can see the injury
to his eye, because it looks like he's got a fucking weird eye.
Yeah, and then he pulls it back on, and he gets shot out of frame.
Yeah.
And then Loomis walks in the room and shoots him 5 more times.
And they used a different actor just to show his face.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, that wasn't Nick Castle. They picked a guy that looked really innocent and had blonde hair. Nick has black hair.
Yeah.
Because they just wanted him to look really innocent. So,
well, it's so dark, you really can't tell.
He looks more like he looks like a German, and I think he is like German or Swedish or something. But yeah, so he puts this thing back on because he looks more like young Michael Myers and like an innocent guy.
That's like the only way that you can stop Michael Myers is taking his mask off. Like that's the only time.
He's got to put it back on.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not like a crazy killer where he'd be like, fuck the mask, I'm just gonna kill you now. Like
right.
he doesn't matter if you have a machine gun unloading on him. Like he'll take the time to put his mask on, which is.
I've read a theory that, well, it's a real thing, that certain people that are crazy and kill people that wear when they're wearing masks, they feel like it's like not projected onto them if they're wearing
on
the
another
mask.
character,
yeah, it's somebody
or like
else.
some
so
other
that's why
psychic.
they're wearing it. So there's a theory that's why he like has to put it right back on.
Makes sense. And I think Rob Zombie in his rendition of Halloween exploits that with all the fucking masks that he creates and like different, I don't know if it's like different personalities or whatever.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, so he gets shot the hell out the window.
Yeah.
Falls just in time for Loomis to look out the window, see that he's gone, and then just... And this baby sort of rolls.
I wish he would have just started screaming, "No!"
Wait. Look, do you want to pretend like it's the end of number 4?
Yeah.
No! We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
So to get into this and pretend like it's something that we didn't love, what do you think about the score, the killer, and the mask?
Oh boy. Score first. The score is fantastic. It's very simple. There's not much to it. And it's not just the theme that I like. There are a lot of like other parts of the score during the suspense, the scenes that are very suspenseful, like the dun dun dun.
Oh, those are great.
Dun
Dun-dun.
dun 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 dun, like that ding.
Does that
thing.
sound like
I
from
love
the
that.
Spider-Man video game, the sound of when he's dying?
Oh, the
on
ding?
the Game Boy, the ding ding.
Yeah. I love that too. The score is, I don't know, John Carpenter just has...
There are a few times where I think a score has been as perfect for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the classic cases is Friday the 13th score. Not Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street score is probably as perfect minus an epic main theme.
Yeah.
Like the main themes is pretty
I
good.
could agree with you on that.
But that score is like, dude, that score might be better than the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So the score is, it's one of my favorites. Like you can be any regular schmuck out there and know that it's...
You've heard that song.
You've heard it. You know what it is.
Yesterday we were mattress shopping and we're sitting in this quiet mattress shop with this guy.
Yeah.
And the salesman, he's like this 60-year-old man. And all of a sudden, faintly, we just hear... and me and Keisha just looked at each other and we were like, what is going on? And the guy couldn't hear it because he said
because he's 60.
His hearing aid or whatever got washed in the washer. But we were like, what the fuck? And then we were like, we heard the noise. And he's like, what noise? And I was like, the Halloween. Keisha's like, Halloween music. And I was like, Keisha is Trevor's sister. And I was like, the Halloween song, like, dun, 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 dun. But anyway.
He had no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Well, I don't know if maybe it's just because he didn't hear it, but I mean, it's a great enough song to where you hear it and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, you're like automatically scared, even if you don't know it. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
In case you're wondering, there was a party supply store next door at the mall, and we could just hear it through the
That
wall.
makes sense.
It's pretty cool.
But score is awesome. Now, the killer?
Yeah. Or the mask, whichever you want.
Well, I'll start with the killer. The killer, I like Michael Myers in this because he's not like an overwhelming giant brute.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got like retard strength, but he's not.
He's not retard.
Yeah, he's not overwhelming.
He's kind of a baby genius.
He's
a full-grown baby genius.
He's just a normal guy. He's not super tall. He's not super big. But he has an agenda, and that gives him just this overwhelming power. I don't know. I really like that. I like his getup. It's just so iconic, man.
It's classic.
Yeah.
It's always emulated, but never duplicated. Even by this series, they can't even get it right.
Yeah, exactly. The mask, my two favorite masks. I like the first mask, first Halloween, and my second favorite is obviously number 2. I love the number 2 mask as well. But yeah, they just, man.
Did you know that they're the same mask?
Really?
I found out they were the same mask. Oh. The only difference is Deborah Carpenter Deborah Hill had that mask under her bed. This is what she says. Now, I'll just take her for her word, but she said she had this mask under her bed for the years in between the movies, 1 and 2, and she's like a chain smoker in the house. So between that, the deterioration of it, and the fucking heat from in the house, that's why, and the other actor's head shape, that's apparently it's the same mask, but it's just warped and looks different.
Yeah,
and I think they slapped.
Well, have you ever put on a Michael Myers mask?
I have never had one.
Dude, well, I've went to like mask shops and stuff, and they just fit fucking weird, dude. Like they're just super wide around the neck. So I would imagine it's going to look a lot different depending on who's under it. So,
but yeah, like I didn't know that, but
well, that's interesting because I love the mask.
It's like
it's dirtier and it just
that mask is great to me. That there's a lot of great masks, and this one is like up at the very top.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the other masks you see in other movies, they're they're more elaborate, or they're just you don't see them fully. I think for the victims he's killing, the fact that while they're dying in the dark, they can see this white, emotionless face.
It sort of looks different depending on like lightings and things. Like it looks like it's making slightly different faces.
Yeah, it's super iconic. I mean, there's nothing I really hate about it. There's nothing I hate about the killer. He gets the job done. He doesn't have any crazy kills in the first one. He just, like you said, he fucking gets the job done and moves on. But overall, awesome. Now, what was the last one, Steve?
That was it.
That was it.
The Man in the Mask.
Man in the Mask. What do you think?
I think this score is dead on great. Every interview with John Carpenter, he talks about being taught this unorthodox time signature on like bongos or something like the like kind of thing, and then he sort of just took that time signature and played it on the keyboard because it's not in 4/4 time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I mean, it's not just that. You did have to come up with the notes, and it's great. The best part for the theme to me, though, I mean, that's great, but the dong, 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 that's a good addition, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. All the other music is great. I love the part of the Halloween theme song where it starts sounding like a typewriter is going on, like sort of percussive thing.
Yeah.
I love that. The mask is awesome. Not only do I love the mask, which is a painted Will Shatner mask that they adjusted the eyes and tore back the sideburns that they got for like $1.98. Not only do I love the mask, I love that it was picked over a clown mask that they were going to have him use, which was pretty creepy too, I guess. So this mask's great. It's emotionless. The best part about the mask, though, is number one, the way they have the underlighting, you just see it come out of nowhere. Like it's like a floating head all of a sudden in the doorway.
Perfect.
And it's fucking weird.
Yeah, they do that multiple times throughout the franchise with where you see the mask come out of the dark, and it's just so
barely
fucking
comes
awesome.
out, and you're like looking at a ghost.
Yeah.
Second, and this is where they really dropped the ball in the second one. You can't see his eyes. That is the best part about his mask.
Yeah.
In the first one, you don't see his eyes. It's just shadows. It's great. From here on out, though, you do see eyes.
Yeah, as the films go on, they try to pull him out of the dark more.
Yeah, and you can see his eyes and like his eyeballs. And for this one, it's great because he's called The Shape. He's not called Michael Myers or anything else.
Yeah,
that's what's so great about that. So yeah, I love that. I love Michael Myers, the killer, because I have a soft spot in my heart for men that are the same size as me. And I like to think that if I was going to do something like, it's nice to know somebody that was my height is a powerhouse.
It's like watching Stephen Curry win in the NBA Finals. You're like, I could do... Maybe I can't do it. Maybe a child that's playing basketball.
That's what I think is cool about somebody like Nate Robinson. He's like my height. He can dunk it. I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I love anybody that's my height. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not much taller than anybody. So yeah, I think he's great. As much as I am a style over substance kind of person, I think that, I love like hair metal music. I think that the showing off is way more badass than what they're actually doing. This is like my one exception.
Yeah.
Michael Myers is like a no frills, just badass.
Yeah, he just fucking gets it done.
And,
but that changes as we move forward.
It does. They do sort of shit on him, and sometimes he does do amusing things.
Yeah.
In this case, you got to also like his sense of humor where he puts on the sheet and shows up. But yeah, I think it's great. I think he's great. Before we get into the ratings, though, I would like to tell you, Trevor, you're going to like this movie if you like One Pump Chumps. Seeing how poking by tiny objects causes a grown maniac to collapse. British men repeatedly referring to a boy as the embodiment of evil, and serial killer stories that are an allegory for a woman's pent-up sexual frustration. If you notice, she is constantly fucking this guy in the face with very phallic things.
She is.
Jamie Lee Curtis is.
She is. Wow, nice observation there.
So, with that being said, on a scale of one dumpster being... Let's see. One dumpster being how badass Corey Feldman kicks ass in Friday the 13th Part 4, and 5 dumpsters being an all-out dumpster fire, like, say, Jason Takes Manhattan, or I guess in this case, Halloween 4, what would you rate this movie?
This movie's getting a solid 1. This is... I don't know, it's perfect. I don't have a problem watching this over and over again. It set the stage for so many films that came after, and I mean, it's continuing. Like, the franchise is still going. There's another Halloween coming out.
They keep talking about it. They keep doing stuff.
Yeah. And
even if they remake it, I mean, let's get into this real quick, because we're not gonna get this far in the series.
Yeah.
I give it a 1 dumpster also, by the way. So never mind that. I'll take the time where I would talk about that to ask you this. Is it wrong for my second favorite Halloween movie in the Halloween series to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 1? Because I think that all the rest of the Halloweens from here on out are fucking crappy.
Really?
So bad. I love the mask in that movie. I could go a little less with the fat kid being weird, but it isn't it's a reimagining.
Yeah.
Now, it would be better if he was small. Michael Myers, I mean. But anyway,
so I'm glad you agree with me on that. Do you hate that he's like this giant beast man? He's this fat, stupid child, and then fucking 15 years later, he's this beast of a man.
Huge.
Like, what are they feeding him in there? Fucking steroids and like fucking
vitamin water,
12-ounce sirloins 3 times a day.
You don't grow big off of mental institution food.
No.
Yeah, this guy could have had a $1 million career in playing in the NBA at this height.
Yeah.
But, yeah, although I even this series is guilty, though, of growing him until he's like 6'3".
Yeah.
From the 5'8" guy.
Thank you, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I just have to keep growing. But, yeah, I think that aside from that...
Solid. And I don't think anybody would disagree. Like, 1's a solid rating. You can't really...
You can't get any better than that.
No.
And this is a B movie, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Stick around in 1 minute for our Halloween 2.
Make Halloween fun with one-stop shopping at Woolworth or Wilco for your Halloween needs. Costumes from $1.83 to $3.99. Like $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, and all your favorite characters from the new movie Turning Green, like the Muse and Timmy the Drunk. You can get wrapped candies of every kind. Make Halloween fun and easy. Make just one stop at Woolworth or Wilco, and then go see Turning Green, opening November 6th.
Scream at us on Twitter at BMovieTrashTalk, at Trevor Turpin, and at Steve Norman.
All right, Halloween 2. This movie, do you have the budget?
I don't actually have the budget. I'm hoping you did.
$2.5 million, and it went on to make $25 million, which is still a great success.
Yeah.
Just not, $300,000 to $70 million.
Yeah, this time it was definitely a bigger budget by a production company rather than it being an independent, so they spent more time, more money.
And they also, the director was somebody else, Rich Rosenthal, I believe, with some reshots by John Carpenter.
Really?
Yeah, they did have him go back and do a couple different things, but this guy was basically just trying to emulate John Carpenter Because I think John Carpenter went on to, like, Escape from New York, right?
Yeah. And,
This was in 81.
yeah, and I think, I don't know, he was kind of on his way out because he wanted to obviously mold this franchise into like an
anthology.
An anthology, and so he really didn't want any part of it and kind of...
You can't really anthologize, as they'll find out with the number 3, by doing 2 movies about the same guy then going on.
Yeah, they fucked up.
So, Halloween 2, 1981. Why don't you read the back of that fucking box?
All right. Picking up precisely where its predecessor left off, Halloween 2 follows the same ill-fated characters as they encounter the knife-wielding maniac they left for dead in the first Halloween. It seems the inhuman Michael Myers is still very much alive and not out for more revenge. Let me rephrase that. And out.
He's not out. I'm not out for any more, guys.
Yeah, I'm tired.
You know, it's been like a fucking 36-hour day.
I've been shot 6 times. Ask Loomis.
Ask Loomis. He'll tell anyone to listen.
Yeah. But no, he's out for more revenge as he stalks the deserted halls of the hospital where his sister lies waiting. As he gets closer and closer to his terrified target, Dr. Loomis discovers the chilling mystery behind the crazed psychopath's savage actions. Written by horror masters John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, Halloween 2 is a spine-tingling dark ride into the scariest night of the year.
I'd hate to be the guy, but is John Carpenter and Deborah Hill really horror masters by movie number 2?
I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know now, definitely. He's
what else?
Pretty good horror master.
Could you say masters?
I don't know about Deborah Hill, but John Carpenter is pretty fucking cool.
Isn't this like when they bestowed Master of Horror onto Wes Craven and like... Yeah, he did make some horror movies, but his best horror movies were when somebody else wrote the script, like Scream.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't know, Wes Craven though, man. He wrote some pretty cool fucking screenplays that he actually directed as well.
He did,
that were pretty
but
cool.
He couldn't name a character to save his life. It was like, name is Flip. Like Mattress. Like, they're just stupid names. But anyway, let's jump into this bad boy. This is more of the night that he came home.
Yeah.
Which is what it says in the box.
Yeah. It obviously starts right where it left off, pretty much.
The first thing that you'll notice is there are some new shots of him getting shot standing on the balcony and then falling off and bouncing.
What's with that? Did they lose the fucking original footage, or they didn't want to use it, or what?
Apparently, they probably just wanted to shoot a little more of that good time. I don't know.
Because
was this filmed from the same time, or was the other guy?
I think it was, because in the second one, it shows him actually hitting the ground, right?
Yeah, and he bounces like he's hit a crash mat.
Yeah, so I think it was probably taken around... I think it was probably taken on the set of the first Halloween, and they probably just didn't use it. That's my guess, because that's a fucking waste of time.
A Halloween movie that happens to have... No, a Michael Myers evil that has outlived the original mask, the original actor, and Jamie Lee Curtis's haircut. Because she's clearly wearing a wig.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis looks like the Lion King.
Halloween 2, the Lion King.
You know the fucking Beauty and the Beast, like not the cartoon Disney, but the like fucking
the live action one with that weird face guy.
That's what she looks like.
Yeah,
in
she
this.
does.
Fuck, man, it's terrible. All right.
So yeah, it opens. They're shooting him. He runs away, and it's more of the same night. I mean, he makes a quick stop, doing un-Michael Myers things like showing up in an old people's house, stealing their knife, getting blood on their sandwich.
He does do like some stocky things. Like he just I feel like he gets off track here. Like he just kills random people.
Well, and he does it, which he never did before.
Yeah.
And he does a thing where he hunches down, probably in Terminator like orb shape.
Oh, like the telepath
the thinker. You know,
I know what you're talking about.
Thinking man thing where he's got his out. He's hunched sort of like that, The girl walks out of her kitchen, and he just jumps up from the floor and stabs her. So, now, I know that nobody listening, if anybody's listening, could see me, but just so that you can see what I'm thinking.
Okay,
This is what he does. He does this. He hunches down on the floor. She walks past. Like,
Yeah, that's weird.
would you not see me if I was a grown man wearing a costume, hunched down in front of you so I was still 2.5 feet tall?
Yeah.
Like, you don't notice that, and then he pops up. That is a weird, not Michael Myers thing.
Yeah.
You also get introduced to his eyes.
Oh, I don't recall. I don't
See his
recall seeing
eyes
his
in
eyes.
that kill scene.
Oh,
Right on.
Why does he kill her?
No reason, because
Yeah.
she accused him of... Well, here's what I...
He just overhears her phone conversation, and so...
Well, she does call the cops on him, but not directly. She calls the cops because she hears the old woman screaming next door.
Sure.
When she touches the blood on the knife. The knife's gone.
Yeah, his whole stalking the old people was honestly so he could steal that knife, and...
Which makes me wonder why he didn't have the knife. I guess he dropped it in the house when he was getting shot.
Sure.
Who can remember a knife when they're getting shot? But, so...
Well, he actually drops the knife in the closet, and she stabs him with it.
That's true. I knew he dropped it somewhere.
Yeah.
But so she calls
with
the
his
cops.
dignity.
Yeah, because she hears this scream coming from next door, the old people, and she calls the cops and says it was the next door neighbors, and it was probably the lady made him mad, and he decided to hit her around a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what she says to the cops. So he shows up, and he's like, fuck this lying whore. And so he kills her. And well, I'll get into it later, but that's how the movie kind of starts.
Yeah.
Then, promptly, he decides he needs to go to the fucking hospital.
Yes.
It shows them hauling Laurie Strode out of the house. Pretty banged up, but maybe no worse for the wear.
A few years tacked on. You can tell they tried way hard to keep the continuity.
Fucking classy wig.
What is with that? It looks like she put her fucking fingers in a light socket or something.
This is back when she started dyke spiking her hair when it was short, so they had to put a wig on her.
Oh, really?
And I guess time didn't permit to grow that mop. Honestly, I never understood Jamie Lee Curtis's dyke spike hair.
Yeah, she's had it for decades.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks better now that she's old because old people like to cut their hair.
I imagine. I mean, Halloween was her first big role.
It was. I think. Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm.
Like she may have done other things we're unaware of, but this was.
It might have been her first.
I think it was her first, but anyways, they're making Halloween 2. It's obviously a bigger production. It's a production company that's putting this greenlighting this feature.
This is a movie that doesn't look like they're gonna just make you work for free and not pay you like the first one probably seemed like.
Yeah, grow your fucking hair out. I'm sure they're paying you a decent wage.
The weird thing is she's not in this movie very much for being the main character.
No, she just lays around like a lazy asshole. I mean, she
sort of dies for a few minutes.
It's like a cat and mouse chase. Michael Myers eventually just he chases her around until he's in the right place to meet his demise, which really isn't his demise, but she just fucking lays around, man.
Yeah, so they haul her off. We get to see Mr. Brackett taking a look at his dead Annie, daughter who was killed.
And he definitely doesn't give a shit.
But he is sent home by that fucking Mask.
Yeah.
The guy from Mask. A country bumpkin that's just like, you gotta go home.
Gotta go home.
There's that Annie. You gotta go home, I'll take care of it. And then so he fucking sends the sheriff home. Which, suddenly there's cops in this town.
Yeah.
So Loomis is still on the loose. Wanting to find this guy.
He's
pulling guns.
Peak.
Yeah. They've decided hey Loomis, do you remember how you were in the last movie? Probably about a 6. Let's turn that up to 9, maybe 11. And he fucking just starts running around, pulling guns on anybody in a costume.
Yeah.
We do see a scene, and this might be jumping around a little, but I mean, this movie doesn't have a whole lot in the way of structure, so there is a scene where Loomis pulls a gun on somebody dressed like Michael Myers, which, in all fairness, he looks like Michael Myers aside from the
He's
bleach
wearing,
job.
yeah.
He's got the same mask, same outfit, bleached hair. It's a cooler mask than the actual mask used in Halloween 2,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know about that.
It's cool because it looks like the original one, but it's got blonde hair and it's like fucking sticking up. They were selling this on the internet. It looked badass.
I've seen that, yeah. I've seen those.
So he goes for this guy. He chases him around. I don't know if he shoots at him or not, but he pulls his gun out.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He pulls his gun out. He has to get stopped by the cop. And he's aiming the gun at the kid. The kid runs into traffic. Very action movie like. Everything blows up. Fire. Everything like that. Like, it's crazy. Like, stuff blows up.
A chunk of the budget went towards us. Like,
Right.
it was pretty elaborate.
And if you didn't notice, I was just biding my time because I could pull this up, saying all those filler words. And do you want to know what happens in that scene, Trevor?
What happens?
He fucking kills Ben Tramer. Because that was Ben Tramer, come to find out, that he chased into the traffic, got blown up, which was the guy that Laurie Strode was interested in from the first movie.
That's interesting. When do you find that out?
They find it out later when they're like, where's Ben Tramer? He didn't come back from the party, and these kids are drinking.
That's funny. They just kill him off, too.
Yeah, they kill Ben Tramer. And he was dressed like Michael Myers, so even if they did end up hanging out, Laurie's going to be scarred.
Yeah.
Ben Tramer's probably not going to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Shows it for a date, maybe he wears that mask. What if she stabs him in the eye?
Yeah. What's crazy, too, is that's such bad luck. Ben Tramer just fucking had a bad deal of cards there. Because it wasn't like Michael Myers, like, grabbed a whole Halloween costume. Like, he grabbed just random shit and put together this fucking outfit to hide his actual self. And conveniently, Ben Tramer's dressed just like him.
He put on overalls because he was not wearing clothes.
Sure.
So,
but he stole them off a man.
Right.
Like with the
But the thing is, it's not even like he went to a costume store and was like, here's a mask and here's a random pair of pants. He just needed clothes, so he got the overalls.
Uh-huh.
So that's quite the coincidence that Ben Tramer is dressed like him. It does kind of lead to some action. Unfortunately for me, that's one of the most exciting parts of the movie.
Yeah.
It is the most exciting part of the movie, but...
Well, like, it's like a little subplot thrown in that, you know, now that this dude that's dressed up as Michael Myers, they don't know it's Ben Tramer till later. So I mean, it
checking his dental records.
Yeah, so it throws in this little subplot. They're trying to figure out whether or not this is really Michael Myers, and that kind of gives Michael the time to get to the hospital and finish his deed. Yeah.
So in that time, other things happen. Not really notable aside from that fucking bitch from the hospital that doesn't want to give her friend a ride home from a party, even though she said she would because she's going to be late. If that was me, I'd fucking pop Mustang in the face and tell her, you will take me home. And then you could demand satisfaction.
Indeed.
So anyway, hospital. They get Laurie to the hospital. This stuff's really boring. So the fat cop investigates a noise.
Yeah, but before we get into that, let's talk about this hospital.
It's the most underlit, understaffed hospital in the world.
Like, there's the reason it's understaffed is there's no one in there to fucking tend to.
But wouldn't you think on Halloween there's going to be accidents? You got a bunch of kids running around in the dark. You got to have some people and some lights on.
Yeah. Well, I guarantee there's fucking old people. There should be old people walking around there pissing their pants. And, other people that were injured previously. I mean, this hospital is just completely empty.
This is Laurie and the Strodes in this hospital. That's it.
There's nothing in there. So the hospital is kind of... I don't know. I like the fact that she is stuck in this hospital, but it's just kind of lamely created. Like, it's like this empty area. It's just not realistic to me.
Well, no. There's nobody there, and it's dark. But it does set a good mood.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, this isn't chronological order, but our pal Michael Myers steals the knife, and then he ditches the knife in a school, stuck into a fucking piece of paper. It's not the same knife that he steals, but that's splitting hairs, I guess.
Yeah.
But he leaves this knife in order to get an X-Acto knife?
No, yeah, it's a
scalpel,
scalpel,
which is his
yeah.
main weapon. I mean, it's not any more threatening than an X-Acto knife.
No.
Those are less threatening than a razor blade.
But it's probably way sharp.
Yeah,
but it's not intimidating.
It's sharp
whatsoever.
and thin, but you can't use it. I mean, it's really lame.
It's weird watching him walk with it. He has this weird stance.
It looks like he's holding a heavy weapon, but it's a tiny little fucking scalpel. Like, this is something that you wouldn't get scared of if they were removing a mole with it. And so he's roaming the hallways with this fucking thing, making noises in the fucking cafeteria or whatever that is, the back miscellaneous gym, so that the fat cop on the closed circuit television will follow him so he can get him out of the way. Because we gotta, at this point, it's dragging. We gotta kill some people because it's getting boring.
Yeah.
And, I mean, something exploded, but that's only gonna hold people over for so long.
Yeah.
So, they do that. There's a lot of really interchangeable scenes. Basically, you could just sum them up by saying that the Jimmy, who looks like Brian May from Queen, has a hard-on for Laurie Strode, so he keeps bothering her even though she...
Well, his last name's Lloyd, and I think that his last name's Lloyd, and if we'll jump into this, but supposedly
let's get into it now.
Okay, supposedly from the time frame of the end of Halloween 2 to 4, Laurie supposedly has a child and dies.
Right.
Her child is an orphan. His last name's Lloyd.
Is his last name really Lloyd, though? Because I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so his last name is Lloyd, so supposedly that's the guy she had a kid with.
You're saying Jamie Lloyd is Brian May and Laurie Strode's kid.
Yeah.
See, I've read that is possible, that it could be him. I mean, there's not any other guy she was talking about. She's a virgin, and she's almost graduated. So it would make sense.
Yeah.
Which is a lame out. And then it's an even lamer backstory in H2O, but we'll get into that next time.
All right.
But, yeah, okay, so these people, I mean, he's got a thing for her. She'll take anyone at this point.
She's fucking delusional.
And
she's on meds right now.
Right. He's this guy. Now imagine this. If you've seen Halloween 2, he's like a good-looking younger version of Bud. Who happens to be the other guy that trolls around the fucking hospital trying to bang people with smoke.
You know who he really looks like?
You gotta trust old Bud.
You know who he really looks like?
Are we talking about Jimmy?
No, we're talking about Mr. Lloyd, the dude that Jimmy Lloyd.
Okay.
Yeah.
He looks like Brian May, dude, from Queen without the tall hair.
He kind of does. If you were to reference another movie,
Brian May from Queen, I should say.
What he really,
everyone knows who Queen is. Okay.
Everybody does, but I want to bring another shitty movie up in this shitty podcast review here. Now he looks like Dwayne Bradley from Basket Case. He's got that thick,
that weird
curly ass hair. Yeah, he looks just like Dwayne Bradley, the brother of Belial on Basket Case.
Yeah, I could. He's got weird hair. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it's that. It's just the hair. I think that's it. But
I mean, he doesn't have a basket.
No, he doesn't have a brother that's been separated from him, put in a fucking wicker basket. That's for sure.
This movie is as much about Laurie Strode and Michael Myers as it is about the comings and goings of irresponsible people at a hospital. We got old Bud. He just wants to bang that girl that drives a Mustang that doesn't want to take her friend home.
Yeah.
We've got Brian May wanting to be friends with Laurie Strode. And we've got a dead Ben Tramer in a different hospital.
Yeah, and we got a fat security officer.
Cop.
Yeah.
He's dead.
He got hammered in the head. Yeah, that's how he died. And I think that's the beginning of Michael Myers' creative weapon choice. I mean, yes, he uses the scalpel to intimidate people at the end.
That's scary.
But his kills are quite elaborate. And this goes into what I was talking about earlier in Halloween 1, where he just gets the job done. And in 2, they kind of had to...
He's the working man serial killer.
Yeah, they set this path for slasher movies, so they had to kind of compete with them and with like, Friday the 13th. And so they had to have more elaborate, like clever kills, and so that's what I think he starts doing, or that's what they do in this.
Well, as much as I love the Hatchets of the world where they do crazy kills, I gotta say, Halloween 2 to me is called Halloween 2, The Downfall of Michael Myers. Somehow, this baby genius doesn't only know how to drive a stick shift car, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
He knows how to follow you to the correct place, the hospital. He knows how to tap your blood and tap into you and get the vein so he can drain you of all of your blood.
Yeah.
He's sitting around pretty much somehow coming up with elaborate ways to kill you, whether it's injecting things into your eye, drawing all the blood out of your veins.
I don't think he was injecting people. He was just shooting air into their veins, which that'll kill you.
That's an injection, baby.
Yeah. So
if I know anything about my Omen, aside from the fact that it sucks, it's that the air will kill you.
Yeah. So I mean, he does. He does some elaborate things, and he's trying to show off his expertise in the killing game.
Yeah, he's like, throw him off of my scent by just killing him in a bunch of different ways and then not hiding.
Yeah. So we're at the point to where Jamie Lee Curtis is laying in bed, and she has that, that lovely paramedic lad that's in love with her. He kind of acts like he tells her that, oh, I won't let anything happen to you, blah, blah, blah. He leaves the room. Or the nurse makes him leave, right?
Do you want a Coke? 2 Cokes. And she's like, get out of here, Jimmy.
Yeah. So she leaves, and then this is where we go to the scene where Bud finally gets the action he's been looking for, right?
In the form of really getting fucked up.
Yeah. So you
gotta trust old Bud.
He scares his nurse employed lover in the bed in some random room, but they decide to go down into a spa of some sort. I don't know if it's like a therapy spa
it's one of those therapeutic baths where it's probably like a fucking hot tub, basically.
Yeah, and how does the nurse and Bud meet death here?
They get naked. Bud decides to go back and fiddle with the knobs. I guess he's turning it on because there's not an option for bubbles.
Yeah.
And it says to not exceed 100. You just see in the back, it's filming this nurse. In the background, you see the shadows of Bud just getting the shit beat out of him.
Yeah.
And
we
Michael
find
Myers
out
jacks up the heat.
Yeah. And we find out here that the windows between the place where the spa is and the heat pipes and whatnot are therapeutic bath. We find out that these windows are soundproof.
Yeah, they apparently are soundproof, or else Bud's not a screamer.
Yeah,
you gotta trust old Bud.
He took it like a.
If I'm gonna get beat up, I'm not gonna look like a bitch.
He just stares Michael in the eyes until he's dead.
What are you gonna do? You stab me again? So he gets beat up. Michael cranks the heat, shows back up. Girl starts getting out of the tub. Oh, she's in her wrap.
He kind of pulls the same thing he did in the first one to what's her name with the sheet.
He dupes her. She puts his finger in her mouth, even though it's filthy from dead
God
bodies.
knows what.
Finger and buttholes.
Cans of beans and all that.
Killing that dog from the first one and eating it. Wasting it. Takes one bite and leaves it on the floor. So he beats her by just jamming her face into the scalding hot water. And it melts her face off pretty much while also killing her by not being able to breathe.
Yeah, while it magically doesn't burn his hand.
Yeah, he's got a strong hand.
Yeah,
leathery man hands.
Mm-hmm, you can see that her skin's peeling off from the heat, but his hand's completely fine.
Well, I think that's because he's a man.
And she's a woman.
And he has strong man hands, as men are apt to do. And so it's just a classic case. And, so another notable death, because really nothing happens in this movie other than Jimmy checks on Laurie a million times. Laurie sort of dies for a second, And
Yeah, she goes into some weird
she
coma.
looks like she's like dead, and it like starts flatlining. And somehow, I don't even know if it's during this time, but she finds out, she looks at this boy, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. She sees this boy by a window. Well, guess what? Guess, Trevor. What am I going to say?
I don't know. I'm guessing
Michael Myers is her fucking brother.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So I don't know if she figures that out in the dream, because when I saw that, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I think it's for... Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's kind of for the audience, and it like references back to...
It's supposed to be a callback, but you're like,
Yeah.
okay, sneak that in.
References back to the first one, and Michael Myers killing his sister, and, you know, his sister when she was 17, when he was a little child, and whatever.
So yeah, aside from that, the only other thing that really happens, aside from the doctor being shit-faced drunk trying to operate on Laurie Strode, is Jimmy falls into a pool of this lady's blood that's been drained expertly by Michael Myers.
So he drained her blood, but that's not how he killed her. Didn't he strangle her? Didn't he strangle her with some of that surgical tubing? Or am I just way drunk? Because I like to let the fans know that I've been drinking beers as we go on through this podcast, and hopefully, you know, I get to the point to where once we get up into the 4s, 5s, and 6s, that I'm just as shitty as the movies are.
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah, but is that how? Because I know I'm positive he doesn't just bleed her out.
He's a choker. This is another part where I resonate with him. As a child, I was a choker. So I like him. I think he does choke her out, but I don't think of that, because when I'm watching this, I'm thinking about Jimmy. He falls in this pool of blood. Do you know what I would do if I fell in the pool of somebody else's blood?
I'd get the fuck out of there and take a shower.
Wrong. I would kill myself, because that's fucking terrible. Just be like, you get up, you find the nearest pistol or something, and you call it a day.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, he falls in this. Michael Myers has tapped the vein. Bleeds are dry. We'll just cut right to the chase here, because aside from that, I don't think anything else really goes on aside from...
There's one cool call out.
Loomis being kooky.
Yeah, there's one cool call out. I think that's pretty sweet, is the security cams at the hospital. I think that's one of the cool things about the hospital.
Oh,
one of the
it
few
shows him strolling around the hospital.
Yeah, so it shows you where he's at throughout the hospital. I think there's one particular scene where you see him walking in the camera, and right as he goes into a room, right as
someone will look at the camera.
Well, no, like right as he's like turning the corner and going into a room, you see the girl that's following him in the camera, like
and
following
you see
the
Laurie
noise,
strolling around too, like different
limping
spots.
around. Yeah, so I think that's a cool call out.
Yeah, that's cool. Meanwhile, we got Loomis at the school. They're looking and they're like, "Oh, Sam Hain," even though it's like Samhain.
Yeah,
he's pronouncing it dead wrong.
Yeah.
He's British, so he should know better. He's
an educated man.
He's from the area of the Stonehenge, and all of it is the Druid. And so they're strolling around. There is some things that go on with a car and some horn honking, but the main thing is Michael Myers decides, I'm going in this building, and he straight up just walks through a door.
Yes, but before we jump into that, Laurie decides that she needs to get the fuck out of there because she finds out Michael is found where she's at. So she heaps and hobbles throughout the hospital. He chases her through the basement, and remember she's
got a boot
through the she
crawls out that window.
She crawls out the window. She almost gets stabbed through the elevator. And let's talk about that elevator. Do you remember when she luckily gets to the elevator and she's shutting it, the door's closed,
and he
puts his hand in there, and it doesn't open?
Any elevator will open if you do that.
She's dead fucking meat in real life.
Unless the code was different in 82. Like, we'll take your hand off if you don't get that out of there. We got no time for you. Yeah. Catch the next elevator.
Exactly. But anyways, then she escapes. She gets to an area where she has to find her way out through a window, and he, unfortunately only has that scalpel, and he's swiping at her, and she gets away. So she gets out into the parking lot, and she decides to hide in a car.
Which happens to be the same car that old Jimmy gets in.
Yes. So Jimmy, slipping in the blood, wakes up and realizes what had happened and Steve may be onto something. Maybe he was going to drive out of there and run it off a cliff. We don't know. But he gets in the car, and first you think it's Michael Myers. And then he gets in, and he goes to start it, but he's still kind of fucked up from slipping, and he falls unconscious on the horn.
He took a nasty spill.
Yeah. And he falls on the horn.
With his head. He, like, passes out.
And
it
it's...
just blares this horn.
Yeah, which I like that. Like, it's like dead silent.
We're going to know where it's coming.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's here.
Yeah. And so she has to figure out what's going on. And as she hops out of the car, she sees that Michael... Or wait, she hops out of the car... It's okay.
Hey.
So she hops out of the car because she sees Loomis, the police officer that has escorted Loomis, and the other...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we skipped this part.
Big Stan. This is one of the few things that happens in this movie.
And so as they go into the building, for some reason, she's so terrified she cannot scream for help until they actually get into the building.
I read a lot of this, so I think maybe it's a thing. Although at this point you're like, okay, Jamie Lee Curtis, well, Laurie Strode has transitioned from doing things you would do to dumb horror movie bitch.
Yeah.
Because she's like, and then they go inside and then she's like, help me! And you're like, why didn't you say like a minute ago? And you know, they could have probably like helicoptered you out of here.
Yeah.
So,
tended to the wig.
Not only is it
powdered
that wig. Not only is this the downfall of MM, this is the downfall of L. Strode. This film, but so they go inside. She scrapes her ass inside, barely ahead of Michael Myers. And what does he do?
He just walks through the fucking window.
Yeah,
dude, I thought it was sweet.
What, do you think this door is going to stop me? Yeah. Barrel through it.
He gave it like a chest bump. He didn't like hit it with his arms or like punch through it. He just like
walked
chest bumped
dead
it.
into it. Fucking bust through what I can only assume is bulletproof glass. Strolls in time for them to unload some shells onto him.
Yeah.
And then people just... I don't know why you would ever stand with... You know, like somebody's limb in between your legs.
Yeah, that's bad.
But this trained cop decides that's a good idea.
Well, and he was told multiple times, don't go by him. And at this point, you would think that people would listen to Loomis because, yeah, I understand that he's neurotic and he fucking goes off on these ridiculous, like paranoid tangents about how many times he shot this guy and how evil he is.
But by the same token, he did shoot 6 shots into this guy and he walked off. So maybe you listen to him.
Yeah, that's my point is like listen to this guy. Like
this guy is Ivy League educated.
Yeah.
Ivy League educated.
And he's literally been the doctor of this fucking crazed man for years. So please.
Ivy League educated. Concealed weapons permit. Pretty good paying job. He has a overcoat. They don't just hand out liver spots in your head for nothing. And he has a cool British accent. You listen to this guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much booze he smells like. He's probably trying to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, this fucking idiot stands right over him. And
he like goes to a knee and like checks his pulse.
Let's check this guy out that just can't die. And like, they grab him. I mean, that's when the havoc starts happening. Because suddenly... he's cut their strength in half by getting rid of this guy.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of grab-assing throughout the hallway, but I believe the important thing is they end up in a room. Loomis and Laurie and Michael. And first-time gun user Laurie Strode happens to be able to shoot not once, but twixt. Times right into one shot for each of Michael Myers' eyes.
Yeah.
To blind him.
Dead eye.
As their genius plan is to fill this room up with oxygen and everything else that's in there. Now,
well, I think let's not give them too much credit here. I think they were doing that because they were both injured. Let's start from the beginning.
We're gonna break this down.
Yep. So they're chased into this. It looks like more of like a surgical room, like
it's
somewhere
like
where they perform procedures.
Surgical room / KOA camp spot shower is what they're chased into.
Yeah. So, anyways, they get in there, and right off the bat, Loomis is stabbed with the
Scalpel.
The scalpel.
He's got it. But he's got a lot of cushion for the pushing.
He does. So he's all
fine.
right. He's all right. And
He'll live for 4 more movies.
And so then Michael aims his attention towards Lori, and that's where the dead eye action comes in. She blows his fucking eyes out, right?
Yeah.
And he starts bleeding,
which is cool.
which is the coolest mask ever.
You probably could have just had that happen anyway from turning on the gases, though, because that's probably probable.
True. So as that happens, Michael can't see; he's impaired, and so what he's doing is he's following the noises, and so
he's just doing.
Yeah, he's just swinging the scalpel, and it's making that cool noise you liked when you were little.
Yeah, when
the
you swing
ninja
around
noise.
a sword that could just clock somebody in the face.
Yeah. And so what they're doing is, I think before they even realize actually what they're doing is they're turning on these laughing gas tanks and everything to guide his attention towards the other room, because Michael thinks he's killed Loomis, so he thinks it's actually Lori that's turning these knobs. That's why he's going back and forth.
One thing, though, that they forget, having too much oxygen can put you in a state like you're drunk, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's not just oxygen in it. There's a lot of stuff. Not only is it flammable, but it's flat out poisonous to have that much going into you. So all this is going on. And Loomis and Lori have the wherewithal to realize that they're still in life-threatening danger, but they don't pass out right away. Like, these are huge jars. Now, I'm not a medical scientist, or whatever the term is, but I think you'd probably just fall down and go to sleep immediately, or pretty close.
Oh, yeah. I'd feel it'd be similar as to turning a fucking propane tank on in a room. Like, it wouldn't take too long before you're unconscious.
By the same token,
yeah.
Let's just say, not only is it like you turned on a propane tank, you've turned on all these tanks, and you fired a gun twice. How the fuck do you not blow up first?
Well, I don't know. I think the gun was fired before those were turned on,
but
right?
There's a stream in the air. I mean, there was some, right? Or, I don't know. I'd have to check.
You'd have
again.
to jump back at that. It's possible. I really don't recall.
It's cutting it dangerously close.
Yeah. But, so they do that, and this is where Loomis decides that, he's going to die with the beast.
Loomis, like a good captain, is going to go down with his ship.
Yep. And so he lights a lighter.
As Lori's gone, by the way.
Yeah, Lori starts fucking hobbling out of there and jumps out, and Loomis lights the Zippo, and game over.
Yeah, it blows up. We Mr. Sandman it, and you call it a H2.
But Mr. Sandman actually starts walking out on flames. So you see...
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, you see his, beast... beast mode, if you want to call it. He's still just powerful, not dead, and he comes walking out. But I think he eventually collapses, and then we call it quits.
Mm-hmm. So I guess from there, we can get into, what do you think about the new mask, the new Michael, because it's a different actor, and the new score?
Well, I'll start the mask first, and you probably hate me for this. And
Don't say it, you sick son of a bitch.
I always bring this up, but
it's not the better mask.
I think you've helped my case here, saying that it is actually the same mask. It's just experienced a bit of age and heavy smoke and things. But I don't know.
In that case, I take it all back.
Yeah, I don't know. I always liked this mask. I don't like the fact that you can see his eyes, but the mask to me is I don't know if
that was just a stupid directing decision. I
don't know if it's the way they light it, but the mask, there's just so much more dimension. Like, you can see the shadows by the nose and the lip, and it's awesome. And I think at the end when he starts bleeding out of the eyes, the mask is just cool. Like, I love the mask, and I don't think it's changed too much from the first one. I mean, I always thought it was a different mask. So with that being said, I don't know. I don't feel it had changed too much. So I really enjoy the mask almost as much as the first. As far as the killer's concerned, he's definitely more inventive with the kills. I don't know if he just got bored earlier on as the first film goes on. The second one picks up where the first one left off. He definitely... He's a completely different killer, and I think you see that. So that's kind of annoying. But I don't know. Overall, I really enjoy Halloween 2. I think the fact that it jumps right into action and he's already killing people and everything like that, I don't know. Like, I don't find him a bad killer. I'm not going to rate him low on this. But now jumping into the score, it's almost the same. There are just a few updates, some things added to it. Still a solid score. Can't complain there. Sorry for my rambling. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I actually think that the mask is something I'm going to non-affectionately call the pit bull. It looks like a pit bull mask. I don't appreciate the way that they just replaced Nick Castle. This actor tried to emulate Nick Castle, but here's a few things he got wrong. His head is too wide, so the mask looks different. He doesn't know how to pick the right fucking weapon.
Uh-huh.
He does not have the same collar action going on.
No.
So it's noticeably different. I fucking hate this.
Well,
to be honest with you, I hate this mask.
There's a lot of continuity issues, and he does look a lot different. And it's probably just because of there's a different actor. But the collar is different. The mask does look different. But I think it's because they have a different actor and a different shape of head.
But yeah. Okay, if you're going to ask a guy, will you be exactly like Nick Castle? Just get fucking Nick Castle. What the fuck is the problem?
Yeah, that's annoying.
Like, what is going on?
I would love to know exactly why they didn't pick that guy up.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay.
Probably money. They're like, oh, we're not... He probably wanted more money, and they're like, fuck you.
The first movie was $300,000. Do you think they gave him $200 to be Michael Myers?
Yeah, but they're probably going to pay him the same amount of money. Like,
if we could go back... No, if we could, right now, I would be willing to pay $200 of my dollars to see a movie reshot with Nick Castle as Michael Myers in Halloween 2, so I could like it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, I don't.
Wow.
I just cannot get over it. Call me petty, because they all will, but I'm a details man. Style over substance again. This movie has no substance, but the style also is lacking.
Ooh.
I don't like seeing his eyes. I don't like the way he's fucking built more like a fucking pit bull. I don't like the way the mask is round.
Yeah, it looks like it does look like the suit is like too small.
See,
like the sleeves are kind of. It's like
he's an inch taller, so it might be he has weird monkey arms. Yeah. But okay, if this movie was Halloween 4 and this was the look, I would love it. But since it's supposed to be the same night and the same mask, because Halloween 4 is a different mask.
Sure.
It's supposed to be a different mask.
Mm-hmm.
But since this one's supposed to be the same mask, I fucking can't stand it. Even if it is the same mask. Mm-hmm. It's like you have a little coat and a fat man puts it on. It's not the same. It's not the same look. So I don't like that.
Okay.
The Michael Myers, he moves similar, not quite the same. The first Michael Myers was graceful but powerful moving.
Yeah.
This one is just powerful moving. He's not graceful.
Yeah.
Which is a slight difference.
I agree. And you can blame it on continuity, but you can also blame it on the fact that this dude's been up for 36 hours, he's been shot 6 times, he's been stabbed in the eye. Like, I mean, there are a lot of factors, but
well, I'd put that aside if he had a knife.
Yeah.
So that's that. The music, it's a wonky rehash.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. The original is written on a real piano, recorded. This one is recorded on a fucking like crappy ass little. It's not a synthesizer. It sounds like a goddamn $100 Casio keyboard. It's like it's not the bing boom boom bing boom boom. It's not like the other one sounds like a grand piano played in a mansion.
Yeah,
a dark mansion, maybe a Crimson Peak.
Yeah, this one's like
blasted over a great expanse. This one's like me learning how to play the piano on a fucking keyboard with distortion to cover in case I miss, and it's like it just reminds me it's a natural progression, and it feels like this is definitely the movie before number 3 and its music, because it just sounds so off.
But I mean, if you listen to a lot of the music soundtracks around the movies that were made around that time, like with Goblin and Zombie the Goblin, all that stuff, like it's think it's his. I don't think it's shitty equipment or anything. I think that's just the way it was progressing, like the electronic kind of stuff.
It's a stupid thing. Okay,
yeah. I don't find it. I don't know.
Here's a non-movie thing. Some people choose to bag on one of the greatest rock and roll bands ever, AC/DC, for never changing their sound. But do you know what they've never done? Looked like stupid assholes for following the trend of the day. Unfortunately, Halloween 2 starts to look like a stupid asshole because they're like, let's go with the distorted keyboard and fuck the 70s. When it's like, it wasn't just a 70s sound that was so great with the first movie. There's something haunting about that big piano.
Well, I think too, and whether or not you're aware of it, I think it just fucks with the continuity. I think it just kind of throws you off because the time frame in between these two movies, I mean, it's supposed to be the same night.
It was a couple years.
Yeah, and so when you see that things don't look, the killer doesn't look the same, and the music is changed, like it's.
Give me one thing that's the same, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
Give me the same score, different mask, and everything else the same. Fine. Give me the same mask, everything else different. Fine. Give me this fucking weird mask, weird score, butcher knife, and same MO. Fine. But they fucking drop a ball on all three of them, and that's like unexcusable. So it's ridiculous. So as far as that goes, I don't like the new actor, but he's the least of my problems. The movie's coming up, the actor is one of my bigger problems. The mask is probably, I mean, the H2O mask, the Resurrection mask, and the 6 mask, I like better than the 2 masks.
Really? No way.
But this one is, after those, my next favorite mask after the first. So it goes first
H2O
one.
mask is, we'll get to that, but wow.
1, 6, and H2O, some of the best masks. The number one's obviously the best. This one is better than fucking 4. And 4 is the worst. But we'll get to that in a second. But I hate the mask. The soundtrack is probably the second best soundtrack of the series, but it's falling off. The actor is the best part of it, but he's not that great either. So before we get into the ratings, though, let me just tell you, you would like this movie if you like trusting old Bud, forgetting what your MO is and seeing how many ways you can kill without a knife.
Yeah.
Underlit and understaffed hospitals, and being reminded how truly careless everyone is at their jobs, even if it could cost you your life, like this hospital staff.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, what do you think? What rating would you give it?
All right, so I think our ratings are going to be so different.
I'm probably going to be a little. This is one of the better movies in the series, though.
Yeah, it's true. Halloween 2 for me is, I don't know, I probably watch it more than Halloween 1. I don't know why. Probably because I've seen Halloween so many times, and it literally picks up right where it left off. But, and I love my Donald.
You gotta love DP, man.
Yeah, you gotta love him. But I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give it a 2. Like I agree with you that the continuity destroys so many things in this. It doesn't destroy it. I think if you haven't seen the first one and you're new to it, you can jump right into the second one and kind of like appreciate and pick up what's going on, because once again, Loomis spills fucking exposition like a madman to kind of fill in for everything if you've missed the first one. But to me, dude, I really like this. It's entertaining.
Are you the kind of person that if you see something, it doesn't have to be just a small thing, but noticeable differences, does that drive you crazy the whole time you're watching?
It can.
Because that's what it does to me.
But it definitely does as the franchise moves forward. And we start talking about 4 with the mask and stuff. I feel like the change in masks from the first to the second it isn't a fucking leap.
Well, it's slight.
It's slight.
And I'll give you that on the mask. It's slight enough to where I don't love the mask, but I don't fucking hate it like I will on 4.
Yeah, and I mean, that doesn't bug me too much, and it makes me feel better that you had actually mentioned it was the same mask, and if that's the case, then it makes more sense.
Yeah, you can't hate the same mask.
Yeah, and the score to me, it is like more like electronic, but it didn't. I don't know. It didn't bug me too much. I obviously knew it was there and it was different, and the continuity just it doesn't connect. But I don't know, man. The movie just starts right where the first one left off, and it's just interesting, and I enjoy it.
I think that I would give it a 2 also. It is way better than almost any other movie in the series.
Look at this. Would you say it's probably? I mean, this is. I don't know. This is a close call, but would you say it's probably one of the best sequels to like a horror movie ever?
I used to argue that Terminator 2 and Halloween 2 were the best sequels you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Terminator 2,
Terminator 2 is ridiculously awesome.
Going over it, though, Terminator 2 is way better of a sequel than this one.
Well,
when somebody says, show me a movie that's sequel is better, T2 is the one, not this one. But I used to argue that before I watched this as much, because I used to be a guy that would just watch Halloween 1 a lot.
And not 2.
Not 2. And I would I've seen it a couple times. I had. And I would think, it's great. I'm imagining the same mask and the stuff that goes on. I'm like, it's pretty cool because it's just like you start at the action. But now, I've seen it now, at least 10 times. And it's not the movie that I once thought it was. Like, number 1 is great. It's a slow burner. Everything though is so awesome, and there's no expectations because he's setting what the character will do.
Yeah.
If nothing else, this movie should have at least had some of that harsh breathing, like, or like how he does it in the first one or something. But yeah, I would give it a 2. Something I try to do though is not judge movies based on what happened before them. Like, it's a bad way to judge.
It's tough, yeah.
It's a bad way to judge a new album by a band you like. If you say, like, oh, what's missing? It's missing Stairway to Heaven. It's missing, you're not going to love it. But in all honesty, Houses of the Holy is good. The next album after Zeppelin 4.
Yeah.
So, in that case, if I just took this is just a movie called Halloween 2. And just like you have to take Halloween 3. You have to take it as its own thing. If you take it that way, it's a 2. But if you like compare it as a direct sequel the next night, you're like, no, it's not great. But yeah, I would give it a 2. I would say you should watch it. You can't obviously watch the whole series without it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things you can watch 1, 2, and H2O and probably be done. And you might actually save yourself a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did want to bring up, this is interesting about the movie. There's a cat called Richard Boyer. He suffered from hallucinations brought on by this movie. Now, he did watch the movie on PCP, but he ended up stabbing an elderly couple 43 times, and the murders were called the Halloween 2 murders. And so I thought that is the most interesting part of this movie.
Wow. Some
fucking crazy guy did a bunch of PCP, killed people. In the court, they made him watch this whole movie. The jury had to watch it. And they're like, it was the movie, and blah, blah, blah. He was guilty. He got sentenced to death. Because he fucking watched this on PCP and went out and just stabbed the shit out of these old people.
Jesus.
Which is pretty crazy.
I'll have to read about that one.
Do you think he only watched the first 5 minutes and was like, oh my god, it makes sense?
Well, if you're on PCP, I doubt he sat and watched the whole thing.
Yeah, he probably didn't.
I'm not saying I've never done PCP, but when you're on,
it's quite the ride, bro.
But when you're on some crazy drug like that, I can't imagine a full feature length film's going to catch all your attention for the whole way through.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow. I never heard about that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we got to get to number 4. We're going to take a quick break.
And then we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, I do enjoy an evening with a little light entertainment. But when your video heads get dirty, you lose your picture. Not a pretty sight. Happily, this new Polaroid video cassette will help you. It actually cleans your heads as it plays, so dirty heads needn't haunt you. New Polaroid video cassettes. Get the picture?
And how about a little bit Halloween 4?
Oh, man.
The return of Michael Myers.
I've been waiting all night for this, Steve.
Now, don't let the cover of this box fool you, which looks badass.
Yeah,
because inside is a piece of shit with a different mask.
Well, even on the back, like, look at that. That's like the $10 mask that you bought. That's like the poor kid Michael Myers mask.
This is the mask that I not affectionately call the Michael Jackson mask. Imagine this. You walk around the corner and you bump into a Michael Myers that's more startled to see you than you are to see him. That's the mask.
Yeah. So, yeah, the front of this DVD...
It looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it's the first and second mask.
It's got the house.
Yeah, it looks badass, but it's very misleading. And it's funny, because most of these DVDs, I think all of them,
they have a cool mask.
They have the cool mask on the front, until you get up to, like, H2O and, like, Resurrection.
And then it's not a very good mask.
Yeah, and then it's the newer masks.
They downplay the mask.
Yep.
You know, this should be, speaking from who we are, 4 and 5 should be our movies. Do you want to know why?
Why?
You don't have any idea why? You can't guess why these should be our movies?
I don't know. Time frame?
They're filmed in Utah.
Oh, duh, yeah. Penny.
And yet
Pennies, right?
Pennies and Salt Lake.
Yep.
In Pennies and Twilla, where I am from. But they're just the worst.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is from 1988. The budget is $5 million. It made $17.7 million at the box office. It's dwindling. Their returns are dwindling.
Well, they were coming off 3.
Yeah. So, before we get into the backstory, it's directed by Dwight Little, written by Alan B. McElroy. And let me tell you, based on Halloween 4...
He wrote a screenplay in 11 days. Just to let you know.
Let me tell you this. Not only did he write it in a short time, according to the documentary, he thought it was good. So, yeah, 1988. This movie is a little bit down because it was coming off Halloween 3, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Halloween 3 should have been called just Season of the Witch because by itself, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's
As
great.
part of a Halloween movie, it's not good.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of, I don't know. I think that's, even though the money that this number 4 made, it doesn't seem like
it's only
a substantial amount, but it still made money.
It made $12 million.
It made $12 million
at the box office.
And I think the reason it did make that money is the fact that people were disappointed that 3 didn't have Michael, and the fact that how many years later?
Dude, this was made this was made in 88.
So 6 years.
So you haven't seen Mike for 6 years.
6 years he's back in the theater. You got all these people that are finally old enough to go to theaters and see him, and they were scared
watch
of this
a
giant shit your pants.
Do you want to know, before you read what's on the back of the box, do you want to know what this movie company did? This is the only smart thing they did with this movie. They
Besides put the old mask on the front.
Right. They said, you know what? Let's flex our nuts. Let's show that we got a big dick hidden in these coveralls. And let's call Halloween 4 the return of Michael Myers. Because we were stupid to not have him in 3. And that's what they did. So why don't you read us the back of that glorious box?
Well, okay, we'll do. But it may have not been a stupid choice to
put a mask that doesn't look stupid on the front.
Well, no, to exclude him from 3, because 3 is great. We would have missed out on that.
Right.
And
it shouldn't have been part of the series.
No, it should not have. But, if they didn't make that, 3 probably would have been the fucking nail in the casket. And, yeah, they probably would have continued making these damn movies, but 4 would have been 10 times worse than it already is.
If 4 was the direct sequel to 2, this would have killed the franchise.
All right.
What's on the back?
All right, so A decade ago, he butchered 16 people trying to get to his sister. He was shot and incinerated, but still the entity that Dr. Sam Loomis, the legendary Donald Pleasance, calls evil on two legs, would not die.
He has never called it that, for the record.
Tonight, Michael Myers has come home again to kill. Now, this time, Michael returns to Haddonfield for Jamie Lloyd, Daniel Harris of Halloween 5, and the Last Boy Scout.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
On the back of this DVD, they are saying, you'll know her from Halloween 5, which is the sequel.
Which is a follow-up.
Which is even worse.
Yeah. Okay, so let me reread that.
God damn.
So this time, Michael Myers returns to Haddonfield for Jamie Lloyd, Daniel Harris of Halloween 5, and the Last Boy Scout, the orphan daughter of Laurie Strode, and her babysitter, Rochelle. Is it Rachel?
It's
no,
Rachel.
it's Rachel.
It's
Okay.
Rachel.
It's not, yeah. Rochelle.
Don't church it up. It's
What
dirt.
Okay, it is. I get it. See, can Loomis stop Michael before the unholy slaughter reaches his innocent young niece?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Michael Pataki, Sasha Jensen, and Kathleen Kinmont co-star in this smash sequel that marked the long-awaited return of the original storyline and remains infamous for its startling twist ending and graphic violence.
No. Spoiler alert. Loomis can't. Okay, so yeah, let's just get into this fucking... Is that the end of the thing? Or?
That's the end.
Okay, this movie's a piece of shit. If you think spending $3.99 on a DVD for the cover art is what you're in for, then that's a good purchase.
Sure.
If you are interested in the movie, you're wasting your money. This movie has, like I said earlier, the Michael Jackson of Michael Myers masks, which is not as graceful as the man.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Michael Myers has been in a coma for 10 years.
Yeah.
After the explosion, because he's been burnt, and yet...
Yeah, so obviously we know that not only did he survive, but Sam Loomis does as well.
With very minimal
With
burns.
minimal scars.
This guy looks like a man that had bad acne and was picking at it instead of a burn victim.
Yeah. Now, what's kind of odd is we jump forward in time. Now, Daniel Harris's... or the character Daniel Harris plays... Jamie Lloyd is the child of...
She's the love child of Nurse Brian May and Jamie Lee Curtis.
That we think, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's possible.
It's got to be it, because, I mean, who else she's talking to? She had... The timeline dictates...
He just had sex with her while she was, like,
was
in that coma,
state.
just staring.
Exactly. When it was Rosemary's Baby, like, she's looking around, seeing her brother, like, what is this flashback? And he's just banging her. And that's how they get this baby, Michael Myers, called Jamie Lloyd.
Mm-hmm. So, the parents of Jamie Lloyd are completely thrown out of this story. Supposedly they got in some car accident
Dead in
died.
a car accident.
And so she is an orphan and she's adopted.
Jamie Lloyd is kind of like a James Bond character. Parents died tragic. That's where the similarities end. So yeah, this movie is 10 years, supposed to be 10 years later. It's actually 6 years later. Michael is being transported for some reason. I think the reason is so that Loomis will retire, quit, or die.
Yeah, because he's been in a coma and there's no reason, to continue study on him.
His position is ceremonial at this point. So they're transferring him because, when you got a dangerous man, you got to move him around. You can't leave him there because he's not going to get out. You got to move him around. You got to add some excitement to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So they move him promptly. They don't tie him up. So even though it's safe to tie somebody up when you're moving them, no matter how dangerous they are, you don't want them flop around in the car. So this guy's not seatbelted at this point, even though he's on a stretcher.
Yeah.
He's not tied down. So what does he do? He puts a thumb through the forehead. And that's how the trouble ensues.
Yes. So the funny thing is he wakes out of his coma and for the first time. And the reason he wakes out of his coma is because the paramedic or doctor attending the actual legitimate doctor, there's 2 doctors in there. They're discussing who Michael Myers is, blah, blah, blah. So the main doctor brings up that Michael Myers actually has a niece that is alive. And
Way to give it away during the shipping of this guy. Because if he wasn't dangerous already, tell him he has a place to stay.
And so as soon as he hears that, you see his limp hand clench into a fist.
Oh.
And that dude's in for a fucking rude awakening.
He sends a thumb right through that fucking head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that happens. And I'm not sure of the chronology of this movie, but it's a piece of shit. So you'll forgive me for not doing it justice when I say they crash into the water. Michael Myers escapes. Loomis shows up and runs into the water with his long jacket. He's like, "Why everyone's missing? The bodies are chewed up."
Yeah. He's already gone through pages of fucking dialogue.
Yeah. They're like, he could have been thrown 100 feet. At this point, this is the point where the movie shifts. Before, the main character was Laurie Strode. Now, it is Samuel Loomis. This dude is going to be earning that money.
It should be called Halloween 4: The Return of Sam Loomis.
Yeah, because you follow Sam Loomis on day-to-day tasks. You see him filling his prescriptions. You get to follow him as he goes to the store to get Depends. I mean, you're with this guy.
He has a colonoscopy.
Right. He gets picked up by the original version of Freak Show from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. This fucking weird godnut is like...
But he said that the weird godnut kind of just sets out the whole theme of this movie. Like, he talks about how evil, you can never defeat evil. It's always there. And, you know, he's this church
Which
nut.
is exactly what you need to say to drunk-ass fucking Donald Pleasance to rile him up.
Yeah, and so, I mean, it kind of follows this movie. And obviously, the fact that the franchise continues, Michael doesn't die, evil doesn't die, whatever.
Do you want to know what the real reason... This is kind of little known fact, but the real reason that Michael Myers is able to keep resurrecting, do you know why?
Well...
Don't say the thorn.
Okay,
do you know
because
why?
I was going to start talking about that.
Do you know why?
Tell me, Steve.
It's this ancient magic called Mustafa Akkad wants to make fucking money. This guy just keeps bringing him back. The producer.
Oh,
so he meets up with this crazy guy. The crazy guy is exactly like Freak Show from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. But looking at the DVD cover, you look at this thing and you're like, man, I'm in for a badass ride.
Yeah.
And you're just not in for a badass ride.
Yeah, I just opened it. So the front of it, it's like sepia. You know, it's like an orangish, like, Halloween color. And then you open it, it has a free card, like a card with the same art, but it's in color. It's like blue and white. And it shows you the
chapters on the back. Do you remember when DVDs used to do that?
Yeah, I like that.
That was nice.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you feel you're in for a treat.
I feel like given $200, we could make a better movie.
All right, so what happens after the ambulance wrecks? Loomis knows that Michael Myers is out in the loose, and the cops completely disagree, which is already a problem.
Classic police work.
Yeah,
can't get along.
They completely disagree. So then we jump to a few scenes where we're introduced to Jamie and Jamie's foster parents and her, foster sister and everything like that. And it's clear that I don't know, that they really don't like her, or she's just kind of like this foster child they've taken in and they regret it.
They're a bad bunch. They knew the original family, like Laurie's family. They're a pretty shitty bunch of parents, but I guess they're better than the orphanarium.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, they're lazy. The girl's bottom line mediocre at best. she's talking about going on this date with this fucking weird looking guy.
Kind of looks like Alex. Sorry, Alex.
But if Alex got beaten with if Ben Affleck was an ugly hammer and you beat Alex in the face with that ugly Ben Affleck hammer, then he would look like him, minus the cool haircut and beard that Alex has. So, yeah, I mean, the family, there's a story about the family. They got this kid for like 10 months, and the kid's attached to Rachel, even though there's no reason for her to be attached. Meanwhile, Michael Myers is fucking shit up at the local Penny's.
Yes.
Now, this is located in Twilla. Actually, it's Stockton.
Twilla, Utah. Twilla, Stockton, Utah.
Right. Twilla, Utah is the county, which is where I'm from. And Stockton is like a 3-4 minute drive. One thing I thought was cool is one time my dad was doing some side work with his friend, and he was just doing some side welding for money. And it was at Penny's, and I was like, dude, you know you work at the same, like literally doing the same work as the guy was when Michael Myers blew that place up. That's pretty badass to me. I've eaten hamburgers at that place. Like, that was just a place. I didn't even know it was in the movie until I saw it, like, in 10th grade.
Yeah.
I'd never seen this piece of shit until then. So, yeah, we got the Penny's action. Michael Myers is actually wearing a wrap thing around his face because he's burnt. He ends up obtaining the shittiest possible iteration of his mask.
Yeah, which is quite convenient. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess because it's around the holiday, he because of the cult status that he's built up because of the murders, they sell masks he was wearing now. Or what?
Let me set the scene for you.
Okay.
Because here's what I think when I'm watching it. I paused it, and I actually sometimes I just pause movies and talk.
To kind of...
I might just talk to myself.
Hash it out and
whatever,
figure out what's going on.
Right. So I paused this movie, and I said, so Haddonfield was in so much love with Michael Myers, fucking killing maybe around 15 people, that they thought, let's not only keep up having Halloween, but let's put out a Michael Myers mask to buy. So they've got this fucking Michael Myers mask, which is a terrible ripoff version. That's kind of like a Michael Jackson mask. Exactly like a Michael Jackson mask if he was Michael Myers. And so, yeah, Michael Myers gets this mask, and he puts it on. And it's at one of those shitty grocery stores, like the only one in town. And Jamie goes there and buys the same clown costume.
But Rachel's hesitant to go there because her boyfriend, the guy she's dating, works there.
Right.
And she doesn't want to seem...
She doesn't want to seem desperate.
Desperate, yes.
Let's face it, though. She is. The girl, the cop's daughter later, says that she is.
Yeah.
And this girl... She's not winning any beauty pageants
anytime soon.
So she is desperate, and she goes there anyway. She sees her boyfriend flirting with what I can only assume is the best-looking girl in town. Now,
yeah.
I can't verify that because she's not very good-looking herself, but the men act like she is.
Yeah.
So yeah, she gets Rachel a costume. She doesn't want to talk to her boyfriend. She's like, I can't hang out. I got to babysit this kid. And the boyfriend's like, God damn it. Like, he acts like it's like he had one hour window to get his dick wet.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And
that's what he acts like, and that's it.
And this is the second time that Jamie sees Michael. So she's having these visions. She's having these visions of Michael Myers.
She sees him in a weird flashback earlier. Remember that?
Yeah, she's
it's
in the
room. How did you know what he looks like?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And then when he pops up, it's like laughable how stupid he looks.
Yeah, and he's like fumbling to put his mask on. But it's really odd because she dresses up as this clown, and then she looks in the mirror and she sees the little boy Michael Myers, like dressed in the clown suit from the first one. And it freaks her out. She falls over.
That is the only thing in this movie that's spot on. She's got the right costume on.
Yeah. But and prior to this, Rachel is obligated to change her plan, staying out with her boyfriend, she has to watch Jamie on Halloween. And that's why her boyfriend's so upset when they talk about it at the store. But after all that happens, after she has her fucking psychological tantrum fit inside the shop, they purchase the costume for Jamie, and they move on. Where do they go next, Steve?
Well, I'm no Halloween 4 historian, but I think they might go trick-or-treating.
Yeah. Okay, so they do go... I guess Jamie decided that she wanted to go trick-or-treating because she's being bullied by kids at school.
And she's trying to put it past her that she is, in fact... Does she know that she's Michael Myers' niece? Okay.
She's just having these weird
for
dreams
reason,
and flashbacks.
Whatever reason, the cutest little kid at school is getting bullied, which doesn't make any sense. Because the other kids are trolls.
The kids know that because they bully her and say that her uncle's the boogeyman. And so I think I don't know if she knows, but the kids know. That's what you feel like, you know? And it's really weird.
Don't you love the way
that
she gets out her photograph chest and it's got pictures of Michael Myers and pictures of her mom, like, here's your crazy psychopath Uncle Michael Myers, and here's a picture in case you want to remember him.
Yeah.
He terrorized your mom.
Yeah. All right, so anyways, she decides she wants to go trick-or-treating. So they go out, and this is where Rachel finds out that her boyfriend is fucking cheating on her with the
cop's daughter.
Yeah, with the cop's daughter that also works at that convenience store.
Yeah, she's just in the house, and she goes to the door to answer and give candy, and this fella, her boyfriend, comes down, and she sees him, and she's like, "Rrr." I want to say his name is Brady.
Something like that, yeah.
We'll just call him Brady.
But he tries to, like, explain himself.
He's like, I'm a man. I got needs. Like that's his explanation.
He's like, it's not what you think it is. That's the first thing he says, and it's just like, you shouldn't even came out. Like,
she answered the door in her T-shirt and pretty much nothing else. Yep. What do you mean it's not what I think it is?
Yeah, and in this whole process of her just with Rachel seeing what's happening and kind of having this argument with her boyfriend, Jamie disappears and is off somewhere running around trick-or-treating, and Rachel starts freaking out trying to find her, and this is where, doesn't Jamie here get bullied by the other kids? They, like, invite her to go trick-or-treating with them?
You know, I'm not sure. But one thing I am sure is that there's a bunch of rednecks watching TV
in a bar
in Chicago, in Illinois.
Yeah.
Where there's not these type of people, probably. And they decide that they are going to fucking start a lynch mob. And this is one of the most exciting parts of the movie.
It's pretty funny.
These dumb butt-fucking retards decide to drive around and just shoot first and butt-fuck second. So they show up and just start shooting stuff, and they, like, end up killing this dude. They're just driving around.
This innocent kid in a bush.
Yeah.
But the reason they...
Is there ever an innocent kid in a bush, though?
Oh, no. The reason they actually go out is because they see on the news that Michael Myers is on the loose. Okay? And so they try to call the police, and the police don't answer. And that's why they go out.
Yeah, they're like, cop station, never visit the cop station.
Yeah.
Let's drive around, boys, but fuck some shit.
And so we find out the reason they weren't answering is because Michael single-handedly slaughtered every officer within that police station, right?
It's really easy to walk in a police station with a mask and a knife and just kill them all.
Yeah. So after they kill the innocent child in the bush, Steve, where are we at?
Well, after they kill the innocent child in the bush, Steve, they definitely decide to go on following Jamie around as she prances around with her stupid friend, Sister Rachel. Basically what happens is everyone gets taken in a cop car to the house that Brady's at with his new girlfriend.
Yeah, so that's the officer's house.
Yeah. And what they decide to do is just barricade themselves in this house because it's the only safe place to be.
And it is pitch black in this house. They have to use candlelight. Reason being is because... Yes, Michael Myers is
a baby genius, like I said.
Yes, he has single-handedly caused and wreaked the most havoc he has in probably the whole franchise. He shows up at the fucking... He studied power grids. Yes. First off, he destroyed the power lines, so that way no one can make any outbound calls or receive any inbound calls. And second, he decided he would throw some gentleman into the power...
You're not
block
supposed to be here.
And completely shut down power in all of Haddonfield. Yep. So, yes, that's where we're at.
See, you can't see. Everything's candlelight. These people go and barricade themselves into a house, and unbeknownst to them, they've accidentally barricaded themselves in with Michael Myers. So, from there, he chest fucks a guy with a shotgun. And
does a little like hand smashing in the face.
Yeah,
just grips the dude's head and smashes it.
Crushes his head into a diamond.
He impales him with the shotgun too, doesn't he?
Yeah, you chest fucks him with a shotgun.
Yep.
And some fighting happens. Very boring girl and Jamie climb on the roof. They run away from Michael in probably one of the most exciting scenes of this movie, where they're chasing on that fucking like stucco roof.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean
Jamie falls off the roof, but she swings around. It's like she's connected to some sort of rope. But Rachel falls a good 30 feet right on her back. And yes, she miraculously survives and is not injured.
In the fifth one.
Yeah. But they get away from Michael. And they hop in the truck, right, Steve?
Yeah. They do. They hop in the truck and they try to get away to probably the next town, because evil only fights in one town, baby.
Yeah. And I find it funny, we find that Michael was somehow found his way to this truck to tag along.
He's somehow in the truck. He's somehow holding on under the truck.
Yes.
So he climbs up, or on the back, and there's trucks following them, so they don't see him somehow. Climbs up, he picks them off one by one.
He fights people in the back of the truck.
In the bed of a truck.
And it's so ridiculous.
This is a movie that should have taken place in Oklahoma City, not in fucking Illinois. So he's fighting people in the back of a pickup truck, speeding down the road. Eventually, though, Rachel is driving. She slams the brakes. Michael flies off the front of the truck. She hits him. He flies in the least masculine way possible.
Yeah.
Backwards.
Rachel, I'll give Rachel credit. She's not like the typical, I guess, survivor of these slasher movies. She doesn't try to run away, get away, like she does in a lot of cases, but when she gets the opportunity to fucking cause damage, she does. So instead of just turning that truck around or like avoiding him and driving off, she just straight up runs his ass over.
She hits him.
Yeah.
It'd be better if she just parked on him and cut his head off.
Yeah. Or like ran him over, then backed up, and then ran over him.
Keep running over him and stuff.
Yeah.
And smoking cigarettes while you're like doing it, just cherishing what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she hits him. He flies back really stupidly. Like non-Michael Myers. He flies one arm up in the air, lifts up a leg, and goes flailing off into the distance.
He flails a lot.
Just in time for what I can assume is the National Guard to show up, to just start shooting the hell out of him with everything that they got. He falls into a hole. He passes the Loomis eye test by saying, "He's gone to hell," and they call it a day. Meanwhile, after that, the best scene happens. This is the only reason you watch a movie. This is where Loomis earns his money. Trevor, what does he do? What happens in this scene?
So it jumps back to the house, or Jamie Lloyd's house, and we see a point of view where we're staring through a mask with two eye holes. And it brings you back to Halloween 1. You're like, oh, wow, something's going on. And all of a sudden, you see Jamie Lloyd's foster mother. And she gets stabbed to death with a pair of scissors. Mm-hmm. And we find that the killer was Jamie Lloyd. So somehow, some way, this evil, something supernatural happened, and this evil is transferred into Jamie, and she's killing.
She does touch his hand when he's laying there.
She does. So like something.
I guess the evil's supposed to transfer some bullshit.
Something happened, but anyway, she has taken on the killing. I don't know, whatever you want to fucking call it. It's really weird.
I'm gonna push this button. And
Okay.
let's scoot back a little bit.
Okay.
And then let's both do the Sam Loomis.
Okay.
This is how the movie ends. You ready?
So she walks down the stairs with scissors
All right.
in her clown costume, and then the camera cuts to Loomis.
No!
No!
Loomis earns his money. And the question that really needs to be asked about this movie is Donald Pleasance overacting? Or is everybody else in this movie acting so shitty that his regular acting seems like overacting?
Yeah. I
think about that.
Yeah.
Theoretical.
That's a mind
people at
bender.
home.
Because I thought about that, like, God damn.
It's hard
like,
to say.
Yeah, you're like, Loomis, like, he's supposedly this actor where you're like, oh, yeah, I got him in my movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. And then you watch and you're like,
What
Jesus,
the
he's
fuck
shitty.
is
But
with
then,
this guy?
Yeah, but then I did think about that. I'm like,
On
no, I think everybody else
On
sucks.
first inspection, you're like, this guy's hamming it up. And then you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is everybody else just so bad?
Yep.
I mean, it's bad. This is how I gauge if something's bad. If I watch a commercial or a movie and they deliver a line, I'm like, I could do it better. And I pause it and I try to do the line like I would do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm no actor. If I can do it better, they're bad.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes I'm proved wrong. I'm like, okay, they're pretty good. They can do it better than me. That's how I decide. In this case, some of the stuff in this movie, I'm like, they should have been a little more urgent with that delivery. Like, I don't think that this is how I would act if there was a fucking serial killer outside. And I'm not a guy that does a backflip when he gets a cool Christmas present. I just stand there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, if I am acting more excited than they are about it, they're fucking doing it wrong. So, yeah, that is the end of the second to last shittiest movie in this series. So, The Return of Michael Myers.
And conveniently enough, we're back at square one.
This is like a shitty remake of number one.
So, yeah, so it ends with you basically see Jamie Lloyd's character dressed up like Michael was when he was a little child after he killed his sister. Mm-hmm. And we're going into 5. And it's pretty much just like how 2 was with 1. It picks up almost right where it left off.
Well, in that case then, what do you think about The Mask?
Oh.
The actor of Michael, because, we already know what we thought about Michael, and the score.
Okay, so The Mask. Oh, The Mask is like one of the worst ones in the franchise.
It is the worst.
It's pretty, in my opinion, like it's like the top 2.
It's the worst. What's the worst if not this? Are you gonna say 5? 5 is the Nicolas Cage mask, and it's a little more menacing.
I kind of hate 6 too.
No, 6 is a turn in the right direction. They start getting better.
They start getting better. I don't know. I think 4, 5, and 6 I just hate the most. Those are my least favorite. But The Mask, I just don't. If The Mask was like 2, like you said earlier, I would have liked this movie. It wouldn't have been half as bad. Like, because the story, I mean, it's for being written in 11 days, it's not too bad. It's still kind of shitty.
But imagine if that was your job. You couldn't have come up with something better in 11 days?
Probably. It's possible. I don't know. Like, I'd have to do it. But I think the problem is that Michael doesn't come out of the shadows. He's just in plain daylight. He's spotlighted all the time, spotlit, and he just looks like a fucking goon. Like you said, he always looks like he's more scared to see you than the person is to see him. The Mask is just, it's bad. It's like way too big too.
Yeah, it droops around and crinkles, and like he's missing a chin.
Yeah, it's bad. The killer, he is the dude that plays Michael Myers in this is just...
He's the worst.
I bet he's just super out of... He's like the skinny fat. Like, he's just way out of shape, and he has like a weird looking body, the way he just stands.
He's one of those guys. He
flails around, like when he's being shot. I hate that part at the end when he's just being shot, flailing around. It's terrible. Terrible. I dislike that. The score, it's just a rehash of Carpenter's 1 and 2. I mean, there are a few things that are added, like some ambient weird bass hits and like kind of creepy eerie noises, but other than that, it's just a rehash soundtrack, and I don't like the soundtrack in this one. I feel like the soundtrack gets weaker and weaker. Like they're playing it like...
It does. They just keep watering it down and trying to change it. It's bad.
Let's play it an octave higher.
And a little bit faster.
Yeah, so it's just not... This movie is so tough to watch, and I like Danielle Harris. Like... Her acting kind of sucked in this.
Yeah. Well, she's a little kid, though.
She had probably the most difficult part in this. Like, she had to play this, like, lovable child that's
the main
retarded, that has a lot of psychological problems, and there's... I mean, it's a tough role, and she didn't do too well in it, but... Man, like... This is the movie... These are the 2 movies she's known for. And that sucks. I would hate to be in that position.
Be known for this.
Yeah. Oh, you were in Halloween 4 and 5. But yeah, that's my opinion. It's just 3 thumbs down almost every category, Steve.
Don't rate it yet. Well, what I think about this is The Mask is fucking flat terrible. It's the worst in the series. Number 5 is bad, The Mask, but Nicolas Cage is more menacing than Michael Jackson. So, this Mask is the worst. The actor that plays it is the fucking worst actor I've ever seen. He doesn't move strong or graceful.
No.
He moves kind of like a boy that is wanting to be a girl but can't afford to get his dick removed. Like, okay, he gets hit by the truck and goes flying. He flails like fucking olive oil, man. Like, he's like flicking his arms up and like, bleh. Okay, the Michael Myers that has been in 1 and 2, he would just fall backwards. You just fall down. You don't make a show of it. You don't lift your arms up. What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for a man to flail his arms up in the air when getting hit by anything unless he's getting jabbed up the ass with something. By surprise. Ah!
Oh.
Like, that's the only time. So that's stupid. The score gets progressively worse and worse as the movies go along.
Oh, yeah.
So this sucks. I don't know what else I can say. I mean, this is the movie that I probably hate the most in the series. 5 is bad, but The Mask slightly redeeming. The exposure in this is terrible.
What do you mean by exposure?
Everything's too lit up.
Yeah.
Like, in number 1, he's sort of creeping out of the shadows. In this one, he does have a spotlight blasting on him.
I don't understand how he even kills people.
He looks like
you can see him. Like, I don't know. He doesn't come out of shadows.
He's not sneaking up on you.
No.
Yeah. He's not sneaking up on you. You fucking saw him coming.
Yeah.
Because he's super lit up. He's wearing a bright blue jumpsuit. It looks like a Halloween costume of him. He's wearing what looks like a $20 Walmart Halloween costume of Michael Myers getup. It's terrible. And he doesn't have a neck.
No, the mask.
There's no neck.
Yeah.
Even the man wearing the mask has no neck. It's like his head is fused to his shoulders. It's fucking terrible.
Yep.
So that's that. As far as the movie goes, I think you'll like this movie if you like movies filmed in Utah. Rooftop fight scenes. Looks like boxing yourself into a house with a serial killer and making it obvious to orphan children that they don't mean anything to you.
Oh, yeah, that's clear.
Because
we didn't cover that, yeah.
Hey, Jamie, I know your parents died, but I got stuff to do.
Yeah, or the do you love me? And then
Come on, why are you asking me that?
Jamie asks Rachel, "Do you love me?" And she says, "Of course I do." And she says, "Like a sister?" And she goes, "Well, I'm not your sister. You know that.
You know that your
But
parents died.
that
10
doesn't
months ago."
matter." She doesn't. She says, "But that doesn't matter." Like,
Yeah.
you could have said, "Of course I love you, just like you're my real sister." No, she just, like, points it out that she's this adopted child.
It's not hard to trick a child. You could say things like, it doesn't. We were meant to be siblings, no matter what. You can word it
anyway. There's a million ways.
You have at least 10 years on this kid. You're smarter than it. Even if you don't feel that way, I mean, come on. This kid has nothing. You can't just fucking tell her that she's not just a useless piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's no wonder she ends up killing that mom.
Yeah.
Everybody's fucking terrible to her. You don't even need to pass any evil. Like, she's treated like a fucking dirtbag, even though she's just a cute little kid.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And so is the fact that Laurie Strode died in a car wreck. Ridiculous. She'll come back in H2O. How about, on a scale of 1 to 5 dumpsters, what would you give this bad boy?
That's a great question. I'd probably give it I'm going to give it a 4. Because it is bad. And I could on a different day give it a 5. But I feel like if the cinematography is done different, I feel like if they didn't light him up so much and he was creepy, like creeping out shadows more and had the same mask as 1 or 2, I would have enjoyed the movie so much more. The fact that the mask looks so ridiculous, it's not scary, and you just hate it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's a problem throughout the rest of the franchise for the most part. Probably more on 4, 5, and like 4, 5, and 6. It's really bad. But I think that's the biggest problem for me. I could definitely change the rating if he didn't look so fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I would give it a 4, and if it was lit better, I'd give it a 3.
Yeah.
Like, darker. If he had a better mask and costume, I'd give it a 2.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing with this movie, aside, I mean, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
But all I ask is to be entertained. But it's hard for me to be entertained when the guy looks like a fucking bozo.
He really does.
Change his mask entirely if you're going to change it. Because it's ridiculous the way it is. Thank God the mask doesn't get any worse. The storyline gets worse. The mask doesn't. But I like the next movie a little more.
Yeah.
So you'll just have to stay tuned for that one.
Yeah,
I would give this a 4.
Yep, solid 4. I agree with you. Well, that's going to be it. I'm glad we tied all of these 3 together. We will follow up the rest of the franchise on the next episode, and then we will provide you with an awesome full review on Halloween 3. That'll be in depth.
That's right.
But other than that, expect us to follow up soon with more episodes. And you can always hit us up on Twitter at bmovietrashtalk, Facebook, www.facebook.com/bmovietrashtalk. Is that right, Steve?
I think so.
All right. But other than that, have a good night. Enjoy this.
Stay classy, not Michael Myers.